Hey everybody, welcome back to UD7. It's been so long. Hey Mythical, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. We're webcam. We're here.
Yeah.
We're in the space. It's been a while since we've done this, but also this in general. It's been about a month, I think, since we've done UD on Speed Gaming. We're bringing you a surprise rebroadcast of the Ultimate Finals that happened live in France just a week or so ago.
Yeah, we left you with a cliffhanger last time. We got 8 players that were qualified. Taker won, but clearly was not the end, Something else was happening, and what has happened is a live event. 8 speedrunners, 10 games. We got to see at least 156 runs during like 3 days. That was an insane event, and we had to bring you a rebroadcast. You don't know the result, Mythical. You came in pretty fresh, and it's going to be great. I know obviously what's going to happen, but like you in chat, if you do know the results, don't spoil it. Obviously, it's going to be pretty cool. And it's also the opportunity for the runners that were there to rewatch their cast, and for anyone that wanted to know how it happened to get there. So I'm super excited actually to rewatch the runs because it's all fuzzy now. Just a week, it's obviously I forgot about most of what happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I just because I knew I wasn't going to be there, and I knew that maybe we were going to do something like this, and it was maybe worth preserving, not knowing what happens. I just kind of shut UD out of my mind for like a couple weeks, and as soon as we hit the go button, just like the intro video and watching the graphics playing, I was like, it started to come back. I started to get like pretty excited about what's happening. So I can't wait. We've got a pretty streamlined experience for you guys actually through if when you watch live, you get all the nasty little technical things that happen when trying to run an 8-person live event, as well as like just controlling the physical space at the stage, because this happened at Stunfest, a big
Yeah.
gaming festival in France.
Yeah, it's so we had a big scene for 300, between 300 and 400 seats, depending on how like close together the people were. It was just above the tournament space. So Stunfest is all about a fighting game competition. It used to be part of the Capcom Pro Tour. It wasn't this year, but still, like they had a 512 Smash Bros. Ultimates dual elimination tournament. That was like, it was insane. So
Wow.
lots of people, lots of noise, and obviously that big screen that everybody could see from the tournament space as well, with that logo and all the runs we're going to see. So it was super exciting. The players were super close to the public, so maybe what we're going to see, it has to have an impact, right? When you play live, it's not the same.
Absolutely. We talked to players a lot last season. At least I talked to players during the interviews and stuff, and players were always very nervous before things got started. We're trying to ask them questions about how do you feel about this, and trying to loosen things up. We did that again. I'm told, at least this time around, trying to make the players just feel comfortable, because you could feel how stressed out they were with so many people watching them. It's so different to play and compete in a live event like this. So some players can weirdly thrive under this sort of thing, but most players probably aren't going to be at their best. And I can't wait to see how it impacted their play. Taker was kind of way on top for most of the season. Will he stay there, or do things change under those big spotlights?
Yeah, we're going to see that right now. For anyone who don't know what UD is, for anyone that was watching with us the season, I guess let's go. I have my fingers ready above the button, and I'll press it, and obviously it's going to be epic. So if you don't know what UD is, it's going to give you an answer just now. Right, so 4 players today, Double Tifa, KTH, Stifler, and Taker. This is the first half of the semi-finals. Actually, we're going to have 3 days, and 8 players are going to play. So, can you walk us through with the program of the weekend, Mythical?
All right, we've got semifinals today and tomorrow around the same time. We started at around 5 today. It's going to be 6 p.m. tomorrow, as well as Sunday. The first 4 players of semifinals are going to go today. We're going to follow their journey through these 10 games that have been the 10 games of the decathlon since we started way back in February. Tomorrow, we will follow the other 4 players who qualified for the Ultimate Finals, Jean, Lilia, Ghost Death, and Lurami. Many of them are in chat, actually, so you can say hello to them, as well as the 4 competing right now, Devil Tifa, KTH, Steffler, and Taker. The best 4 of these 8 will move on, and we'll see how they did on Sunday as they play once more an entire decathlon to find out who is the ultimate champion of Season 7.
So, Devil Tifa, KTH, Stifler, and Taker, we have their player cards on screen, and wow, those players obviously got there, and it's not a surprise. Like, speedrunning is all about dedication and hard work, and those cards, they're filled to the max.
They're full.
Right?
All across. There's maybe a couple missing double arrows on some players, but 200 points on every single game in grind and race across all 4 players. It is just a fantastic effort by everyone who made top 8.
So Taker, he is in the lead theoretically in both grind and races. Stellar performance. Since the second week of the UD, he has held that first spot, so very, very good performance. Devil Tifa has practiced a lot in the weeks before the finals. He's practiced now. He got all those bars. He broke the perfect card. Now he doesn't have exactly the same times in both grind and races, but you had to break those records if you wanted to push a little bit further. Getting good times in races is possible. Getting straight PBs all across 10 games is almost inhuman. So that's a good thing, good sign for them. KTH currently 4th in races, but 7th in grind, and Stifler is trailing a little bit in 7th place in grind and 8th in 7th place in races and 8th in grind. So we have 8 players being at the 8th place in grind. Doesn't bode necessarily too well, but it doesn't matter necessarily too much, right?
Not too much. Also, today you can afford to maybe not quite be at your best. The competition is way too stiff that you can afford to totally blow it on one of these games. But you're aiming for top 4 with this run. So, if you save your good stuff for Sunday, then you'll be in good shape. So we'll see here. We're taking a look at the first game. It's going to be out there somewhere. It is a puzzle platformer, a portal platformer. You shoot the gun, you teleport to wherever the bullet lands. If you've been following us all season, of course, you know exactly what this game is and how mean it can be with some of the skips that the players are going to be going for.
It is a very, very important game. World record is 5 minutes and 44 seconds, leaving you very, very little time to waste throughout the entire run. It starts quite intensely with very, very important skips, and you know that during the skips, the clip, the players were already practicing. It's been done throughout the entire season, and starting with out there somewhere is not necessarily so easy, so the players are on the new game screen and it's going to start immediately. What do we expect, as the shmup section is going to be very short here?
Yeah, we expect the players to kill themselves immediately. That's how this run starts. There's a very brief shoot 'em up section at the start and end of the run, actually, but the bulk of it is going to be here in this platforming. I'm not sure what to expect. We've seen some pretty close times from the players. Steffler's the furthest behind at 6:44, and Devil Tifa is the fastest at 6:22 in terms of PB. So just 22 seconds separating first from fourth. It's going to be close, but it all comes down to who gets this skip. The players are setting up for it now. Devil Tifa is the first one to have a crack at it. Not quite going to get it on the first try. This is pretty common, actually, to see players need a couple tries here, but usually someone's got it by now. Devil Tifa going to be the first one.
first place, struggling a little bit are Stifler, Taker, and KTH. KTH is finally making it, and Taker as well. Stifler in third place, very close to all of them. So the players were just trailing Double Tifa by about 20 seconds now, and the time ticks really fast. So Taker is skipping the second heart as well as Stifler, so we have on the top of the screen 2 heart containers for both Double Tifa and KTH, and that can be a little bit meaningful. We have seen a lot of runners go for the heart container under the city. I'm not quite sure yet what's the better in a race setting, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's funny that we're in the Ultimate Finals and still asking these questions, because it really is so close to call. Devil Tifa got the second out-of-bounds trick, which is not nearly as beneficial as the first one, but is also much easier, so players are still willing to go for it. Not quite getting the conversion there was KTH coming off of the big jump. It's almost as hard as a lot of the out-of-bounds, I think, getting directly across that screen he just left from the left-hand side. You see the players are now reaching the city and getting the gun. It is almost tied between Devil Tifa and Stifler. The Gauss gun here is going to let you, it's a gun, you shoot it. It's not a fancy portal gun. If you've played a game before, you know what shooting a gun is like. In this case, it's mostly just going to be breaking some blocks.
So Devil Tifa is just ahead by a few seconds of Stifler. Stifler got a way better part after the first out of bound, but only 2 hearts, so we'll see the difference it makes between the two. Stifler and Devil Tifa are entering the caves here. Taker and KTH tied on that screen here, the double jump, but trailing or 2 other players by just a little bit. Here, a series of rooms that you totally break open, just abusing a little bit the jumps and the coyote time, and knowing exactly how to go through those rooms, make for those puzzles very quick successions of screens to just, a blink of an eye and they're done. You know exactly what you're doing, and it's not where the players usually are losing most of their time.
Yeah, those out-of-bounds tricks that we saw, we did see everyone pretty much across the board lose at least 10 seconds or so, which is honestly, it can be a lot worse. So I bet everyone's probably at least somewhat happy with how it went. And probably if, this was a live event, so they could theoretically just look over and see how the other guy is doing. And so it's a little bit of relief, I think, to look over and see like, oh, wait, everyone else is still trying to get this trick. I'll be okay. I don't know who would be willing to take their eyes off the screen in that situation. Or would you just focus? I'm not sure. I feel like sometimes there's information. I don't know. It can affect things, I think. So I would probably be tempted to take a peek. Tower has been climbed here for Devil Tifa. Is got a decent lead here. Dead sync between Stifler and Taker, climbing off the top of this in second and third. I guess basically tied for second, as KTH is still in fourth.
Yeah, it's going to be very close between Taker and Stifler through those series of room. Nice teleport by Stifler, just getting a few inches ahead of Taker and dying here just to lose all their advantage. Meanwhile, Devil Tifa is going to set up for the suicide here, going back to the checkpoint right where Taker and Stifler were just a second ago, but with the door open, they can move on towards Sector 2. KTH is just starting the first sector and dies here, take a big hit, and is going to lose a lot of time, even more than they were wasting just before. Devil Tifa moving on very quickly. Taker and Stifler still very close together, but Taker taking a slight edge here and dies, obviously, as soon as I mentioned that.
Stifler had edged ahead just a little bit, but then Taker fought back, and now Taker holding on to the lead. But Devil Tifa has been looking very solid, is all the way on the way back out of this section that both Stifler and Taker are on their way in. KTH has yet to join them on that sort of second section of this prison. Devil Tifa is getting all the teleports they can get. It's really, there's some pretty solid stuff that you want to do to speedrun this game. Skip this thing, skip that thing, but there's tons of little things you can do all over the place to go just a little faster, ways and places to shoot your teleport gun. We're onto a very tricky blue lake section here. Devil Tifa is going to be able to take the hit and keep on moving, and gets the jump first try.
Yeah, not slowing down in the previous few screens here. Devil Tifa is just pushing on with their lead. Steffler mentioned in the interview that the start of the decathlon was the most important section for them, so they cannot let anything go. They're currently in third place, KTH just behind them, and Taker one screen ahead, so it's very, very close between all the players, except for Devil Tifa that opt out immediately of that skip here. You can jump frame perfect out of the green beam, but it's not so easy to get, you know, the frame perfect input, obviously.
Yeah, and we've seen players, you know, you can try that trick very rapidly, but even so, we've seen players get stuck there for 10, 15 seconds even, which is, you know, almost like 30 attempts at this trick. It really is just that hard. And at some point, players kind of turned a corner. Even as they got better at the game, they thought that this is not something I want to try to do, except maybe if you're Taker. It looked like he was trying at least a little bit. He too has moved on from this trick. Meanwhile, Devil Tifa is, you know, looking at the boss. This is not really where the boss fight happens. He gets inside some weird little pod thing, getting the safety checkpoint there in case something happens in this boss room, but controlling the fight by firing 3 shots at the boss before he has a chance to move. If you're doing it correctly, you can even prevent him from shooting entirely. It looks like now Devil Tifa is in the zone.
Nice, yeah, they got immediately into the groove of things, got the first out of bound very, very quickly, and since like the tower, they did not make any meaningful mistake, so they lost a lot of time between the first out of bound and the second one, but that's pretty much it, and we're looking at a 6:35 time if the mashing is fast enough. So getting to see the players live, we got to see how they switched their hand position to get the fast mashing, and some players got pretty nifty tricks. Devil Tifa is all about mashing on their PlayStation 3 controller and got there very, very fast. Taker got the light orb in second place here. Stifler is almost there as well, just one screen behind Taker for the longest time. Taker with a very good mashing here. He's almost done already, losing a lot of life.
Oh my
God,
goodness!
He's scared.
1 health remaining for Taker. Just you know, some part of that was planned, was controlled, and I bet there was definitely a healthy dash of luck involved in what just happened for Taker there. You don't lose a lot of time if you die on the final boss, but it is a fair bit. Would not be sitting on that 706. Certainly, if they had died. Good job by them holding on. KTH now the last one to finish up. 7:32 is going to be the in-game time. This is like a fair race time. I think probably you're hoping for a little bit better than a 7:32, but something like Devil Tifa's 6:37 is among some of the best race times we've seen for this game, period. So a fantastic start for Devil Tifa.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want. Devil Tifa is 9 points ahead of KTH already. In the UD7, the points are very, very tough to come by, so you want to be as much ahead as you can in each game. But the players were super tied together, super close together, like 3-4 points between each of them. So it's not something that you can be too comfortable with entering the second game. It is lawnmower.
It's the best.
It's
the best game. It's the best game. All right, you control the lawnmower. You can hold a button to make it go fast. You can make it go way too fast to control. It is so hard to steer this thing. If you go over a flower, it's going to take a big chunk out of your fuel meter. A rock will take out even more. And your fuel meter is your life meter. When it runs out, you die. You go all the way back to the start of a level. In some cases, this can cost you like a full minute. So it's perfect for a speedrun competition in a live setting. No, it's brilliant. The thrill of knowing that your run could end with just one wrong input at any time is real. I love watching this game.
So super synced start. The players are not all going for the same strat. Very, very close between KTH and Devil Tifa. Steffel goes for the weirdest route, but that does work for them. Level clear in sync for Stifler and Taker on the bottom part of the screen. Level 2 introduces the flowers. If you cut them, you're going to lose most of your fuel and you die very, very quickly in lawnmower. Stifler is one of the few players that are playing with the keyboard, actually, so apparently having tighter control, and already maybe that's why they are about I don't know, half a second ahead, starting with level 3 now.
I wonder, the keyboard, there are some things that can be really hard to do with a D-pad. If you could do some like crazy snaking motion to clear 2 rows in one smooth direction rather than doing 1 row and then looping all the way back. It's a technique that could really save a lot of time, but it's so hard to do on a D-pad. I wonder if being able to kind of rock your fingers on a set of keys on a keyboard might make a difference. But really, that is such a small thing. It really comes down to don't die. That is it's rule number 1 with a bullet in Lawnmower. Steffler so far, is he going to try to finish this off? He's going for it. Oh my gosh, the control.
So KTH in chat and on stream has the current world record for the game, so entered strong and confident. But Lawnmower is maybe the game I was the most scared of for the runners, because not playing on your exact setup for that game with the input lag and all that happens so quickly can be really, really worrisome.
Yeah, if someone was playing on console or something during the season and then arrived on site and had to play on a emulator with a monitor that has some amount of input delay, even if you got the nicest monitor, it's not quite going to be the same. It would completely ruin everything, I think, in this game. It really cannot be understated just how difficult it is to control the lawnmower, how few frames you have to make every single turn, and how costly even one wrong turn can be. Steffler is flying, is already on the hardest lawn. I think most people tend to agree, being lawn 6, getting a little bit dangerous dancing around some of those rocks. The way you just kind of have to in this level, has most of the lawn cleared, needs the gas can. Where is it? He barely gets to it. Is going to be able to get to the end.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Got a little bit too far, but compensated very, very nicely. They're currently an entire level 6 ahead of Devil Tifa. Devil Tifa is super worried with the game. Said that it was going to cost their decathlon to someone like Lawnmower. Wow. Okay, Stifler missing the fuel can for the longest time, and KTH finishing level 6. So very close between Stifler, KTH, and Taker. Devil Tifa trailing behind just a little bit, but they're ahead after very good out there somewhere. So far so good for everybody.
I'm at least a little surprised to see KTH not in first here, as the world record holder of Lawnmower has consistently been able to produce excellent results in races, but Lawnmower really is just that kind of game where even if you practice a whole, oh my goodness, KTH is not going to be able to get to the fuel can. I think they were counting on being able to go through the flowers, but by the time they got there, did not have enough fuel to try that dangerous maneuver. So that's going to set them back. Taker and Steffler definitely in the lead here. Almost done. Lawn 8 is Steffler, actually.
Yep, just that one tiny corner going for the fuel can before spiraling around the last patch. Taker going for a very meticulous approach, is almost done with the loan, just that one tiny final patch, not even going for the fuel can. That's where you know that the runners have practiced quite a lot. They know exactly what one half of a fuel can get you through, and that saves you a lot of time. Obviously you don't may take any detour. Lone 9 is has gotten super consistent for the players. The route on some of the loans during the season optimized quite a bit, and now Lone 9 is all about those going back and forth with most of the middle already done, and those snaking on the corners to go through the rows of flower. Very, very dangerous maneuver by Taker, going in between the rocks and getting a clean swoop through half of the stage here. Meanwhile, Stifler is already on Lone 10 here.
Yeah, this time is pretty crazy. Steffler is doing what you need to do if you want to kind of get to the next level in Lawnmower, and that's absolutely maximizing the amount of grass you mow before you go and get your fuel can. It spawns, even if you know where it is, you want to try to route out your path through the grass over to the fuel can such that you mow as much as possible on your way there. Or sometimes it spawns in the corner of a place you've already completely mowed, and then you can't do much about it. But before that, he was doing excellent discipline and planning and routing. He's going to finish with like a 5:30 here.
That time. incredible. Finishing before Taker is even halfway through level 10. KTH just starting the 10th lone, and Devil Tifa is playing very, very, very carefully, just slowing down at every single corner in the in lone 9, and since lone 8 playing very carefully, just trying not to die. We've seen some runners with actually very good time during the season. I remember Babast mowing half of the flower in the entire game just to be sure, very, very slowly getting all the fuel cans and still ending with a sub 10 minutes time. So if you don't die, you actually save quite a bit. There are a lot of games where going slowly will cost you, carefully will cost Taker! Dying at 93%, 6 minutes and 22 into the run, having to go back and do all lone 10, which is the longest one. Even if you do go optimally, there's a lot of grass to mow through, and Taker dying again, 27% into the level. Oh wow.
KTH also dying, Devil Tifa. Oh, lone 10 is taking names this time around. It's definitely the only one to get out unscathed with their phenomenal run. Lon 10, Lon 6 I think is the one most people hate the most, would probably say it's the hardest. But Lon 10 is probably, it's definitely the most punishing. There's so much grass to mow that a late death costs so much time. And it is almost as difficult as 6, getting around the rocks on either side of the stage. The way that each side is divided by that line of rocks means that you can only approach each side from the very top or the very bottom. So that can act as a barrier. If you're somewhere in the middle and you need to go check on where the next fuel can is going to spawn on the other side, sometimes you need to go all the way down and around the rocks. If you go the wrong way and find out the fuel can was up and you went down, you can find yourself with not enough time to get over to a fuel can. So very frantic, very costly, scary final level. KTH and Taker are both done. Devil Tifa has been slowing down so much, has really not been playing like themselves in this game. Oh no!
96% for the level, playing super slowly, but that has happened so much in Lawnmower. There's an impression of input lag so strong that you overcompensate all the time. You try to go back and get better route around the rocks, but if you're shifted just one tile to the left or to the right, you'll end up dying and killing yourself, because it's a lot about planning your route live and super quickly, because those fuel cans spawn randomly, so you have to take that into account. You never know what's going to happen. Here, Devil Tifa considering going back to the fuel can, but realizing that they have enough fuel to go through a oh no!
Oh man, that's such a small mistake. Just went one tile too far to the left. You lose 40 seconds. Right, he must have been off by frames to and then lose 40 seconds. It's so mean, this game. But you gotta admit it. Oh, that's not going to be able to recover from that. Sometimes you go for these really aggressive patterns, mowing as much grass as possible so that you can perfectly get back to the fuel can right as you're about to run out. And then when you do that, if you run into an obstacle like a flower or a rock, and it happens late, usually there's no coming back. Whoa, the mower stopping means that was the last possible frame.
Okay, going slow. Now you're live, you're in front of... On the Friday, there was maybe like 150 people in front of you, very close to you. They're cheering for you, but it's pretty difficult now that you've died, I don't know, 5 times on lone 10. You know that everybody else is done. You know that you were first after you're outed somewhere, but the time is ticking so fast. Already 9 minutes and 43 seconds into the run. And
you can tell that Devil Tifa is a little bit rattled here. Mowing the far outsides of the level is what a lot of beginners do, because you feel like you're getting a lot done mowing a lot of grass, but it's so easy to mow the outsides of the level, and you leave yourself with nothing but all of the trickiest stuff to do later on. So, was clearly just looking for like something safe and comfortable that they could do, and opted to go all the way around the outside of the level that way, which makes me think that they're just rattled here, just a little bit scared. And of course, after dying so many times, all those people watching, like you said, it gonna get you a little bit. And if anyone can handle this sort of situation, the mental fortitude, it would be Devil Tifa. So Are they going to be able to clutch it out here? And then if they do, and then there's a lot of other games left to play. So when you get a 1042 like Devil Tifa just did in Lawnmower, how do you bounce back from that?
Well, you bounce back at the bottom, from the bottom of the leaderboard, 394. So that's 14 points behind KTH, very close between Taker and Stifler. Stifler 10 points in the lead. That's exactly what they needed.
Stifler was talking about how they really wanted a strong start out there somewhere was solid, and then a race PB. That's what that blue text means. In Lawnmower, I think they were just 2 seconds off of their best time ever. So phenomenal time in Lawnmower for Stifler. The players are going to be moving on to the next game, and through the magic of editing, we're going to be able to jump right into it. It's Trackmania 2 Stadium. We're still on 4 wheels. We're still trying to go as fast as possible through some ridiculous obstacles, but certainly the genre has changed a little bit.
Yeah, and the period has not, weirdly enough. We are still in 2011. Lawnmower was a homebrew from that period, and Trackmania 2, highly regarded game, very, very arcadey, totally focused towards going fast, trying to save time, but not necessarily chaining those tracks together. So the race is about to start. The PBs of the players are very close together, with KTH and Stifler tied at 1150.
They are close together, but at the same time, a 20-second difference in Trackmania is so much longer than most other games. It is just the nature of racing games. Once you get through a track pretty good, you get a certain time, and then in order to go faster than that, you need to be working so hard to just cut off, take corners just a little bit better, preserve your speed just a little bit better, and it adds up to just like fractions of seconds here and there. It becomes so hard to push lower. So the 1130 is the result of a lot of hard work, actually, by Taker. Everyone, I think, there was a big cluster right around 12 minutes in this game, actually, and everyone here has managed to get under that 12 minutes, so they've kind of advanced to the next level. But 1130 is maybe another level ahead of that, and certainly there's further to go. We've had players, closer to 11 minutes flat, even playing in the UD. Sailing to Mars, of course, did not qualify, but a fantastic player. The sky is the limit with this game. You really can just push it further and further, but does it make sense to do that in a 10-game competition?
Yeah, so going for the final frames, the final few seconds, anywhere past 11:20 was completely out of reach, and you can see that there was top tier decathlon runners stopped at between 11:50 and 11:30, which sounds pretty smart. Taker has pushed all 10 games super far, as we are in BO3 here with those evil stairs. Devil Tifa in the lead, and you have to try not to get stuck on those railings. We've seen that was in the grand final, seeing someone getting stuck, losing about 10 seconds on that railing between the arrows and the railing. So right before UD, we got an update and some textures has changed. So the red crosses that cut down your engine are now I don't know, white lightnings. It's weird, but
I think so.
Yeah, a lot of things have changed, and you can notice if you were with us since the beginning of UD7 that the load times are super short as well, and that has caught the runners a little bit off guard, so they had to practice just a little bit, because look how fast this is going, and everyone is tied entering BO5 here.
That is, hats off to the developers for updating their 7-year-old game and improving the load times like so drastic. It's like 2 or 3 times faster. It's ridiculous. So that's a cool thing. Yeah. But it is an aside. Back to the race. The players are all very, very, very close together. Usually by track 5, they started to spread out at least a little bit, but many of them are all in the same jump. All 4 basically on the same jump at the same time. Fantastic showing from everyone. Taking this really dangerous turn is Taker, slowing down quite a bit as is necessary. And of course, on these dirt turns, like we've been saying all season, you can preserve more of your speed by taking the outsides of the turn as much as possible, but you risk touching the railing on those dirt sections. You can see maybe it's broken up into chunks, and if your car gets wedged in between two of them, it will come to a complete stop. It is totally brutal, and is the reason why you're seeing players not taking the absolute fastest lines on these courses.
So we are 2 laps deep into the track here, and it's dead even. Everybody is going to pass Double T Fan now, Stifler, Taker, and KTH exactly at the same time, and it's back to dead even, and everybody is just trying to go for all those tiny optimization you were talking about, because you have to. In lawnmower, you can go, safe and still get a decent time. There's no way to do that in Trackmania. If you don't go for all the optimization, if you play safe, you're going to end up with a 12-20, which would be very, very harmful to your score at that skill level.
Yeah, it's just 30 seconds or something, you might say, but then you find out that's like 10 points that you just gave up. So as tough as it is to fight for just half seconds here and there on every turn, it really is, you really do have to respect what those seconds add up to, and they add up to points very quickly in this game. Track 6, Devil Sativa, still like half a turn, maybe like a quarter of a turn ahead of everyone else. Really high speed section here that everyone is doing a good job of navigating. Devil Sativa doing it a little bit better, actually, pulling ahead through the final section here. Across some grass, the terrain matters in this game quite a lot, actually, but thankfully we're just going straight across this grass, so it's not going to be too big of a problem. It will return with a vengeance in track 14.
Yeah, the freshly mowed grass is a very, very dangerous and slippery terrain. But first, we are going through B07 here, featuring concrete, dirt, and those loops for the first time. So nothing too bad here, except you're building up a lot of speed and entering that turn. Devil Face sticking right now. You want to have the exact correct angle so you don't lose too much of a speed and be a big drift here, and keeping your speed. Devil Face is going to cross the lane at 400 kilometers per hour. KTH is going to be only at 370, finishing at exactly the same time as Stifler and Taker. So Devil Face, building a nice lead, but in Trackmania, a nice lead is just half a second, and that's already pretty big. Track
8 here is got the wall rides here, and you might think like, wow, a wall ride, like that must be the signature moment of this track, but it's actually this turn right here. Devil Tifa slowing down to about 235 and making the turn cleanly. Everyone else, there's no way I'm going to be able to read 3 speedometers all at once, but it looks like everyone got through pretty cleanly. They're all still not quite, actually. Taker definitely did something better in that track, because it was a full second ahead of the other two.
Yeah, everybody got brushed a little bit, grazed the walls during the wall ride, and that slows you down quite a bit. Keeping your speed is the signature, skill, the one you want to master, and the speedometer is your friend when you're learning the speedrun. That's, you want to try to replicate the speeds at which the players are taking the turns. Careful with the umbrella here. Oh, Taker is going for it and smashes into the tent, going for dead stop, and finishes the track exactly dead, even with Sterflo. Sterflo lost a lot of time in the previous 2 tracks, but so did Taker here.
Yeah, so KTH is going to jump into second. Well, I don't know. It's still very close between them. I hesitate to give KTH second place here, because it can change on any turn. It is just that close between the 3, but Devil Tiva definitely comfortably has the first place position, even if it's only 2 or 3 turns. It's still a fairly... No, you know what? I take it back. It's not that big a lead. We've seen bigger in previous races. It's just that the competition now is so close. The other 3 racers are so close that this lead seems as big as it is. But really, one bad turn, and we could see Devil Tiva drop out of first. Probably not down to 4th, though maybe if everyone stays exactly on top of each other, it would have to be either 1st or 4th. But that is just... Track 10 is one of the longest tracks, one of the most difficult tracks to optimize, I found. Going for the green metal particularly, it took me many hours on this track compared to any of the others. So It is. It's one that looks pretty unassuming, but getting these tight turns, even on concrete, very difficult.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to understand what the track wants you to do, but those tight turns and the tight corners on the dirt here, the road is very narrow, or feels narrower than the other tracks, because the speed, the sheer speed at which you are supposed to go through those turns is pretty insane. So starting B11 here, Devil Defense still in the lead by about a second. He's going with some neo drift maybe on those turns. It is a very low speed track, so well, low speed in Trackmania is still 200 kilometers per hour, so you know, that's still insane. And so far so good for Devil Defense. Oh wow, grazing those bumpers here always gets me scared. Jumping above that one does not, since it's totally intended. And finishing strong. Devil Defense is still getting a big lead. Stifler gets a huge stop on those bumper at the end of the track, costing them quite a bit of time. Taker is still tied with them as they finish and starts B12 here, a full speed map.
KTH is now sort of firmly in second place here, about 3 seconds ahead. Devil Tifa is approaching the scariest part of this level. It is this pillar on this upcoming turn here. It's right where you don't want it to be. You know, if you want to go inside, you need to be pretty uncomfortably close to the wall. If you want to go outside, you're losing a lot of time. Not going to be a problem for Devil Tifa, nor KTH, nor Taker, nor Steffler, who went very wide around the outside of it. But really, it might be worth sacrificing, you know, a half second or something to make that section a little bit safer. But like we said, you can't give up too many of those half seconds or you'll find yourself out 5-10 points.
KTH is nicely in second place, and you have to consider that Trackmania is one of their worst games of the bunch. They're in fourth place PB-wise, and it's very, very surprising to see Taker so far behind, being one of their best games. So it's very, very promising for them. Yeah, ooh, brushing the wall here. B13 is a very weird one. And B14 starts. This is the big grass moment. Look on Devil Defense screen on the top left corner. You want to keep your speed through that very, very, very slippery slope.
175 on the speedometer for Devil Tifa. Very good. 180 is possible. KTH dropping all the way down to 145. Taker rather staying very high at around 175 as well. And Steffler dropped very low down to 130. Look how long it takes to build the speed back up on the grass. It is torturous.
Yeah, it costs a lot. The speed, it's not about going fast, it's about keeping your speed. Trackmania is all down those tiny optimization, and that's why the runners go through that weird route. The fastest way through the grass is not the straight line. You want to as slow as possible turn and keep your momentum, keep your angles right, so you don't want to take a tight turn or you're killing all your speed, and it's fairly weird. B15 is a very, very long one, and this is another track where you want to keep an eye on your speedometer, because when you enter those red cross blocks, your engine is going to be shut down, so you cannot build back any speed until you cross the next checkpoint. So it's very, very important, and the Ultime drops as low as 280 entering the section here. That's going to cost them a little bit.
Yeah, 315 is more where you want to be. KTH at 370. Taker getting that 315, actually. You can go as high as 330, especially if you really go wide on the first big jump where Devil Tifa is here, and he is pretty wide, but he turns a little bit too soon, I think, so he's only going to be able to get up to 307, but that's still pretty good. I think you're pretty happy with around a 307 going through that section, and really I think you're very happy just not crashing into the cacti on that one section before the jump. They look like they're fluffy, inflatable, and should go flying when your 330 kilometer car speeds into them, but again, like the umbrella, they are rock solid, will completely stop you dead. That's going to do it for Trackmania. Devil Tifa finishing in first. A pair of PBs actually for both Steffler and KTH was required, because we saw them, you know, along with Taker, who had the much better PB. So fantastic showing from both of them, from everyone.
Yeah, Stifler keeps their first place firmly, 7 points in the lead compared to Taker, and Devil Tifa is back to the 200 points per game average, but that's way less than what the other runners have been doing. Next up is Mega Man. If you did not recognize the blue
The
robot
Blue Bomber.
bomb, yeah. We're going to go through Mega Man 1 through 6, but we're not going to kill the 46 Robot Masters.
Yeah, right. This is a special custom category designed for the Ultimate Decathlon that is 10 Robot Masters. However, you have to defeat one Robot Master from each game. So no just doing all the fast ones from Mega Man 2. And you have to reset after each Robot Master. This is because if you didn't, then you would just, start with a fast one and then do as many from that game as possible, leveraging your weapon weakness. Or maybe you would do Mega Man 2 and just do the zips with the items, right? Like, the idea here was to generate a lot of routing discussion, get the community guessing and figuring out and studying which would be fastest. So the thing that made the most sense was resetting after every boss, so you don't get to keep your weapons, and that means that every stage can just kind of be slotted in and out. They don't impact each other, and it's made for a really interesting exercise. It does mean, however, that you're going to be working mostly with just the Buster. So with those two restrictions, let's go.
I'm super excited for this race as the runner go with Gutsman because I did not get to see them live. I was running everywhere for the entire event. I was not providing commentary live, and I fell asleep during the race. So let's go. And Gutsman, you know exactly how that green platform is going to go, so nobody should get surprised here, at least I hope. Because if you are caught off guard, you're going to fall like a rock. Instantly, in 2 frames, you're dead.
Yeah, it is. It's truly amazing how fast Mega Man falls. I guess it's like the game's it's building up Mega Man's falling speed, and then it's just the platform is preventing him from moving. So as soon as the platform goes, you fall at max speed. It's crazy. Not going to happen to any of the players. It didn't for these 4. It probably won't happen to anyone tomorrow. We'll see. We got 4 more racers who are going to be joining these guys in the semifinals tomorrow at 6 p.m. And then the best will move on to play on Sunday, or at least we'll be showing them playing on Sunday. For now, though, everyone is very, very close together, as you might expect, using the select glitch to get past the hammer-throwing guys, the Hammer Brothers. I don't know what they call them nowadays, but getting ready to head into the boss fight. Kate Taker has been hit by the big eye here, is a bit lower on health. I think he tried to jump over the health refill, but is going to be forced to play it safe.
Yep, and I think that's a good thing. We've seen Gutsman kill a lot of players. I think they've killed both Devil Tifa and Taker during the grand finals. That got them qualified here, so having a better start is going to be good for everybody. And you have to consider, even if Devil Tifa is one of the players that plays at their best performance when they're from behind, they're playing not only against KTH, Taker, and Stifler right now, but also against Lillian, Chant, Ghost Death, and Loremi tomorrow, so you have to factor that in the stress, because you cannot adjust at all. You cannot. You have to go through and just go for your best bet on every single game. So taking 3 hits here at the start of Middleman is Devil Tifa. That's not where you want to be, because they're going to have to use their E-Tank. Stifler is starting with Airman, and KTH in the Taker are on Flashman. So this is the part where it gets confusing. Every routing exercise has some leeway with the route you're taking, and obviously all those 4 players are going to do things differently, but they should come back together right after Mega Man 2, actually, because a lot of the players go for 5 bosses on that game.
Yeah, Airman is usually the 5th boss, and some players have routes that don't do it. And actually, I think Devil Tifa might be doing both Star and Gravity in Mega Man 5. So we're definitely seeing Airman from Steffler. We'll try to keep an eye on. Airman basically is the one that will tell you what route players are on. There was definitely a lot of things up in the air at the start of the season, but towards the end, especially among the players at the top, they've kind of gone close to basically 2 routes, and whether or not they do Airman will kind of tell us which one they are on. Flashman down for Taker. He does appear to be in first, having finished his 2nd Robot Master before anyone else. But Flashman is the shortest stage of all the 46 Robot Masters, kind of by a lot, actually. So do try to keep that in mind. We'll try to count Robot Masters defeated now. We got another one for KTH joining Taker. Steffler is about to go into the boss fight, and Devil Tifa has been fighting Metalman here, is very low on health, so we'll see. Yeah, has chosen to play very defensively. Left side of the stage does get hit multiple times, needs 2 hits. Oh my goodness.
Double KO is still valid. It counts as Robot Master down, so that's going for you, which is nice, but still very scary. Double Tifa goes for Bubble Man in second, so goes for the longest Robot Master, to build up the suspense, I guess. Meanwhile, Stifler, Taker, and KTH, all three on Metalman, but Stifler gone from Airman, which is the longest stage out of the bunch. Nobody's going to go for Crashman, Woodman, or I'm always missing one out of the 8 from Mega Man 2.
Oh no. Oh, I can't get it. It's too late. It's gone. Someone else will definitely be able to do it for us in chat. Devil Tifa is doing the bubble zip here. Without any items, you don't have many opportunities to zip in this category, but thankfully you can do this this sort of buster only zip here by pausing to get a little bit further to the right, slowing your vertical falling speed, resetting it over and over, lets you get inside the ceiling, tap left, and zip. Very fun to do. Part of the reason why so many players opted to do Bubble Man in their routes. Taker having a much better Metalman fight than Devil Tifa did, had so much health, very comfortably finishing that fight. KTH is opting to be a little more safer at the cost of a little more time by staying in the middle. Forcing Metalman to jump means that some of the time he's too high and you can't hit him, but it does mean you're going to know exactly where he is. You don't have to deal with his random jumping. So sacrificing speed for consistency, and is done with his third Robot Master, Devil Tifa, in their third now.
So KTH and Taker still going for the same route and very close together so far. Double Tifa is almost done with Bubble Man. You want to reduce or at least try to have as low lag as possible, but the randomness of the game sometimes gets you to lose time. Double Tifa nicely spawning the birds as they enter the Quickman stage. And yeah, obviously nobody's going to go for Hitman, the 8th boss I was missing earlier, because it's a long one and without any item. In Buster only, it's probably the hardest stage out of the 8 Robot Master in Rockman 2, so, a good trade. The routing decision, as we see KTH go for the zip here, and the discussions completely involve the difficulty of the stages. Needleman is one of the theoretically most interesting ones, but nobody is going for Needleman ever just because how difficult the stage is.
And the difficult the boss is. The stage is okay. It's hard to do fast, but the Needleman is probably the hardest Robot Master to defeat Buster only, I think. I was completely surprised at, I'd game overed 3-4 times or something and then just did another stage. That was my first experience and only experience doing Needleman stage in this category. Much respect to the Buster only Mega Man 3 runners. We got a fourth Robot Master defeated now for some players. Taker out in front, KTH very close behind, trying to manage the lag in this fight. The bubbles, as well as just the sprites and stuff happening on the screen, really lag the game up pretty good, so you want to be careful with your shots. KTH was doing exactly that, finishing currently in second place. Devil Tifa about to be in third here, assuming everything goes well with the Quickman fight. They're pretty low on life, but you generally expect to trade a little bit with this fight. Needs one more hit, gets it.
Yeah, this is a difficult one. In Buster only, Quickman can get on top of you. Sometimes it's very difficult to hit them because you're just, on a platform a little bit higher. And Devil Tifa is going for their force bosses on Mega Man here. Taker and KTH are currently on their force bosses. Stifler as well. Everybody is just, keeping pace, but Stifler still has Flashman to go through, so they're maybe theoretically in the lead. It's always very hard to say.
Quick beam section here is not so scary. It would test your memorization a little bit, because you know, if you're not doing the right thing as soon as the screen snaps into place, you're probably dead. But it does tend to either be like you very clearly know that you need to alternate and change direction, or you're just holding the direction. Like there's certain visual cues that really just make this section flow, not too scary for these players. And as long as you keep your health high, which a lot of players will opt to do, taking a damage boost off of the projectile from this enemy rather than walking into the body of the Stomper, as both Taker and KTH both did, keeps your health high enough that Quickman is not too much of a problem. Definitely not for Taker.
So starting Mega Man 3, Mega Man 3 Top Man is the boss we've seen quite a lot. Top Man is a fast stage and not too difficult, considering how difficult some bosses in Mega Man 3 can be. Shadow Man, Needle Man, and the mashing required to go through those stages is insane. The Proto Man fights are notoriously difficult if you want to optimize them perfectly. So, Top Man is a good trade, and almost every single runner has included it in their route.
Yeah, this is definitely the go-to for Mega Man 3, but I think we'll probably see a little bit of Mega Man 3, a little bit more of it, from Taker. Has, in their PB at least, does Magnet Man, so I think is the only player to do that, and will further complicate us as we try to follow all the players on their routes. But currently in first, most of the way through, hitting the checkpoint here in Top Man stage. Steffler still has a whole Robot Master to go, but thankfully it is Flashman, it is fast. So they are the only player who did Airman, so they appear to be a full stage behind, but do not worry. It is still super unclear even who is in the... Well, I guess at this moment we know that the order for Taker, Devil Teeth, and KTH is as it appears in their progress through this stage, but it's going to change as soon as one of them goes to another stage in the future, and no idea where Steffler is in relation to all of them. KTH, very low on life, actually, is definitely going to opt to pick up the refill here in Top Man stage.
Yeah, you don't want to get killed by Top Man. If he touches you, you're dead if you have so low HP, so it's a good pick here by KTH. Taker on the stage, and now we know that Top Man spins 3 times on the first time and then 5 times. Just one very, very quick kill actually by Taker. So Stifler is done with Flashman, and Mega Man 2 is going to have to move on, because you cannot keep on doing Mega Man 2 bosses. You have to kill 10 Robot Master, and at least 1 in each game, so he has 4 games remaining and 4 Robot Master to kill, so it's going to be 1 on each from Mega Man 3 through 6. So Top Man is going to be dead on KTH's screen. Devil Teeth had just done with the game and moving on to Pharaoh Man. Meanwhile, Taker against Proto Man, and this is a very difficult fight to optimize. You can kill Proto Man before he touches the right wall, and each time I say that, I feel like I'm mistaken. It feels impossible.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand how people are able to manipulate the D-pad and the jump button while maintaining the level of mashing on the attack button that they do. Like I can mash like 12 times a second, but only if my entire body is channeled through one fingertip into the button. I'm not even thinking about what's happening on screen, let alone trying to press other buttons. So some players have ways of figuring it out, and I need them to teach me the secrets, because I just can't do it. And it looks like I don't think we've seen anyone be able to get close to that level of mashing. Honestly, Taker taking him out before he touched the left wall is, I think, pretty impressive in its own right. So they're confident enough in their mashing to do this Mega Man stage. KTH and Devil Tifa are going to be doing their extra stage likely in Mega Man 5, so for now they are ahead in Mega Man 4. In terms of the overall race, I think probably Taker is still in the lead. Can be a little tough to say. Into the scary spike section here for KTH. Devil Tifa about to drop into this section as well. Boss fight now for Taker.
So Magnet Man has 2 patterns, and if he focuses and tries to suck you in, you want to take an intentional hit, but you cannot do that too many times because you would die. So Taker has actually a very, very good fight here with a good mix of both patterns. A magnet pattern is the slowest one if you don't cancel it, so not having that too much is perfect. Pharaoh Man is next for Taker, so Taker went for 2 Robot Master on Mega Man 3, meaning that they're going to do only 1 in Mega Man 5. This is the trade a lot of players have taken. Gravity Man and Starman on Mega Man 5 are both pretty fast and pretty easy to go through, so it's a route that was one of the most popular until the 5 bosses in Mega Man 2 that Stifler is doing right currently overtook it just a little bit. So Pharaoh Man has killed a lot of players just because of those spikes, and this section Taker is coming to next. You want to defeat all those monsters first and not take too many hits because your life is precious against the boss.
Stifler in a very difficult intro section to Pharaoh Man. A lot of memorization involved in how you slide and which enemies you kill, assuming you're even able to mash fast enough to kill them in the first place. We have seen very few players get through that section perfectly. Always something goes at least a little bit wrong, and it is definitely, I would think, the hardest part about Pharaoh Man stage, and almost everyone has to do it. The options for Mega Man 4 are pretty limited. We have seen some Toad Man in some cases, but most people are doing Pharaoh, so it is something that everyone had to learn. Starman, however, is something that most people learned, but I think there was a pretty big divide between Star and Gravity. They were so close together. Oh, a death for KTH. This is the reason why not to do Star, if ever there was one. This section here, particularly this jump, is so mean that you have some opportunities to take some damage boosts here off of these enemies, get the invincibility frames to walk on the spikes. KTH, no fear.
Well, just a tiny bit, but took a hit and went for it. But the low gravity, Mega Man behaves like if he's in the water, like in Bubble Man stage, and those spikes on the ceiling are just like a signature move by the level designers at that point. It's present on all those levels like that, from Mega Man 1 through 11, I think we still see that. Devil Tifa against the boss. Starman has random patterns. You hope for good RNG or good jumping above that shield. You can get into the hitbox of the boss and sneak in some shots, but you better have having perfect RNG like Devil Tifa is right now. Starman is just doing one jump and then lets his guard down, so very, very good fight. KTH going for some nice hits as well. Yep, that's exactly what
Steffler is in Gravity here and is not going to have to do Star. So Steffler is ahead of Devil Tifa and KTH. Relative to Taker, they are very close, so it is still a little bit tough to say who is in the lead. Very close between the two, but definitely not in last place here, is at least in second. So we'll see how their Gravity goes. A death from Taker is maybe going to close the gap between Steffler and Taker. Probably Taker still a little bit ahead, but it is now so close.
Well, Stifler is just passing the checkpoint right now, and Taker is a little bit ahead of the checkpoint, but not by much. I think Star is faster than Gravity just because of the boss. The overall level, I'm not sure, but it's close between the two. The boss, Gravity, has set patterns, so you cannot make it go any faster. If you manipulate Starman right, you can save a lot of time. So we'll see who's in the lead after Mega Man 5, but so far this is a very tense race. All those players on Gravity, they opt for some different routes, but it feels like it did not matter too much. Stifler is actually going to enter the boss room right before Taker, so let's see between Gravity Man and Starman who's faster, but Devil Tifa and Stifler are neck to neck now.
Wow, this is an incredibly close finish. KTH not too far behind either. Gravity Man, one missed shot there for Steffler, and it is very tricky to get that shot that Steffler just got, so kind of making up for it a little bit. Just needs one more. Is going to be the first player to move on to Mega Man 6, followed very shortly behind by both Devil Tifa and Taker. So we are just a couple seconds apart in the final stage of this run.
All that routing effort during 3 months down to a second between first and third here with very, very different routes. Devil Tifa, Stifler, and Taker did different level, well, 8 of them in common, but you know, it's weird to see the players so close together, and everything is down to Windman. Windman has killed Devil Tifa during the grand finals. I'm not sure if that affects more their state of mind compared to being forced from those semifinals here.
Also, I can't help but think of Devil Tifa got a 10-minute lawnmower time, right? Like, lost a huge amount of points in that run, and here they are competing at the highest level with everyone, you know, ahead of many players. In this case, it seems they're basically neck and neck with many players, basically unfazed by what happened to them in Lawnmower. Incredible tenacity. We always, you know, it's a bit of a meme to say that at this point how good that Devil Tifa is at this sort of thing, but I can't help but notice it in this situation. Devil Tifa is still playing at their best despite getting off to a very, very rocky start. Windman has gone very well. Everyone's passed most of the scary stuff here. KTH about to go through this section now behind everyone. Getting hung up a little bit, trying to land the shot on this turret. You don't want to try to power through past the turret without killing it. You also definitely don't want to have to kill this panda at the end of the screen here. For all these 3 players, we'll see if it lets them by.
Yep.
Steffler through, Taker through, Devil Tifa through.
Nice. So Stifler is in the lead, and I don't know, Taker and Devil Tifa are tied to the frames, so it's hard to say, but the flashing indicates Stifler first, Taker second, Devil Tifa third. Let's see how well the boss fight goes.
Players are going to be trying to charge up their Buster, and you know, as soon as they fire, try to recharge again. But you need to be at least a little careful. If you get very close to Windman, it becomes very hard to get away from him, and once you get a hit, it can mess with your rhythm and everything. Steffler had a pretty much perfect fight. Devil Tifa as well. Taker lost maybe like a half second or something throughout the fight. A very quick 1-2-3 finish from those players. And KTH, you know, when the other 3 are so close, it looks like, oh, KTH is lagging behind. But like, he's like right there, and also the timer's at like 20:30. So this is also still probably going to be pretty close to a 21-minute time. That is a great time for a race.
Yeah. That finish, just, I lost my words there. It's, you know, imagine those players live, they finish, they hit their split, they look up, and everybody's looking up at the same time, and you're a bit phased. You feel like you're done awesome, but maybe those players are done since like 30 seconds. You don't know what has happened. And KTH, yeah, as you called it, 21:05, and yeah, race PB for both Stifler and Taker actually, which is insane considering their PBs.
Steffler is on fire. He had a very solid game 1, followed by race PB in Lawnmower, PB in Trackmania, and a new race PB in Mega Man. You want to see these colors on your numbers. They indicate a new personal best, either in races specifically or ever. That's what that goal time is. A fantastic Trackmania for both Steffler and KTH. And also Steffler is in first. It's not Taker in first. There's a 13-point gap between Taker and someone else 4 games in. Crazy run from Steffler.
Yeah, this is one of the most insane finish in any races I've seen in a while. Especially considering the category, and that nobody has done exactly the same thing. It's fairly unusual, and the Mega Man category had some issues, but certainly that race, just, you know, it was perfect. But next up, it's going pretty fast, because Minute Already is up next. A nice adventure game, top-down, clearly inspired by some Zelda game, and a very, very fast one, but a nice and easy one to learn. A very, very cool introduction to the speedrun and to the speedrunning theme here. A lot of players have started with that in UD7, and now it's all down to try and get those sub 7:30 times you can get in Minute.
Yeah, around the start of the season, we were looking for sub-8s as like, these are the really good times players want. And then as time went on, players began to optimize more and more. And it seemed impossible. When I first did, my first completed run was like an 8:46 or something. And I was like, boss fight was not so good. I can do a little better. But I felt like I had pretty much got it. Like I did not see how you could save even the 45 seconds, let alone the further minute beyond that players have been able to find in this game just through the tiny little optimizations, taking corners and diagonals just a little bit better. All the players have got through the dark room that has been a problem even for some of the best players. So very, very happy to see that no one got stuck in that room. Everyone is taking the watering can to this friendly fellow in the desert who desperately wants it. There's a lot of just a cute little quests here that you need to do in order to make your way through this game.
You lose totally the sense of exploration and you can have in the weird and cute world of Minute when you are just rushing past every quest you actually just exactly have to do to clear the game. Stifler, KTH, Devil Tifa, and Taker finally getting the glove, the throwing glove, the pitcher's mitt, allow you to throw and catch back your sword, giving you the opportunity to kill enemies from afar, and you just have to get it to progress, because that allows you to get the guarding glove, protecting you from splinters, and so now you can chop down trees with your sword. But onward immediately, we are going to kill 5 crabs, so we are rewarded with a coffee. Nothing that makes sense, right? But
and the coffee helps you push blocks, of course.
What's impressive is at that point, all the players are very, very close together, going for the exact same moves and same throws at the same time, just to nail down those quests and those movements. It's all down to your angles and pixels through the world.
You expect a race of Minute to be close, but not quite this close. Not quite on the same row of the same screen here for both Steffler and Taker, and of course also very close to KTH. Everyone is taking very careful route here on this particular life in this game. You've probably seen the players have died and reset multiple times. They want to get to this hotel low on the timer because that is when the scuba diver pops up. That's one of the many people you need to save in this hotel here in order to get the manager to open up the pool, because you want to go get the flow. Oh, KTH dying to the Leaf Gang. Our very, very close race has now got a bit of a gap in it.
You'll notice that Taker plays in... I'll never know, I'm sorry if it's Japanese or Chinese, but I think it's only because the head is pushed further to the corner and they see a little bit better of the overall map. I don't think it saves any time, but I know in the Messenger they will be playing with the Chinese language just to save 3 frames, so Taker is one of those runners that will try to optimize anything they can. Menuing, frames, languages, boot times, whatnot. So they are very, very tied down to those things. And they had a lot of success doing so in UD7, and currently they're in first place here, just a few frames ahead of Devil Tifa. Stifler is right behind them, lowering the bridge right now. KTH trailing them just a little bit, died to the Leaf Gang and struggling with the bombs right now. Get the 2 explosions, so they will be able to move on. But Devil Tifa gets the flippers and is going to be able to swim, but Takers has passed them. I don't know how. In those few lives here, just the movement in the hotel was enough for them.
Moving on to pushing some of these blocks here. They're going to push 2 at once whenever they can. You just need to be careful you don't stick them right up next to each other against a wall. You will have no way of getting them separated again, and it will actually force you to reset. We point it out every time because it has happened, and it really, really sucks. You can, lose little bits of time here and there just to tiny little miss movements and not going for all the optimizations and things, and you lose a couple seconds maybe, but in Minute, if you make a really bad mistake and you're forced to reset, and you'll lose like 40 seconds, and we've seen it happen even to really good players. So anything that can happen like that, we always are looking for it and hoping that it doesn't to any of these players. Looks like everyone has managed to push their boxes just fine. Heading into the final section is this factory here. Taker getting hung up a little bit, looking to hit that last switch. We're trying to shut down the factory. The factory's been making these cursed swords. That is the reason why we're stuck dying every minute. So it seems like a bad place. We're going to take care of it 1 minute at a time.
Taker is going to stop the factory from working, but sadly gets their sword stuck here. So back at the hotel with the watering can, they're going to go through all that movement again, but the time is ticking. Remember, you only have 60 seconds to do anything in minutes, so this is one of the tightest lives. You want to go back to your sword, put down the fire, and then move back up towards the boss fight. But the cutscene is not the checkpoint. You have to let the cutscene play, and if you are too tight on time, you die and you go back to the hotel. You lose a bunch of seconds. So it is one of the most tense moments. But obviously Taker makes me look like a fool, but because they get the sword at 18 seconds, which is insane, and you cannot do better than that.
Yeah, Double Tifa as well, actually, with an 18. Steffler is going to have a 17, very close between the three of them, all of them ahead of KTH, who again died to the Leaf Gang. It's not the most costly death that can happen by far, but they're going to need something really bad to happen to one of these other three opponents in order for them to have a chance of finishing outside of fourth. The boss fight here has many stages with many checkpoints. Thankfully, Taker's the first one to move on to the second phase. The swords will light up. We don't have the flashlight, so we can't see so well here. We need the swords to light up and show us where they are so we can hit them. It's always going to be the one that's furthest away from you that lights up, so there's a lot of strategy here in grouping the swords together if you can, so that you can hit multiple towards the end. Taker getting some pretty bad angles here coming off of the swords, not quite able to hit many of them very early, but is still ahead of Double Tifa and Steffler. Still very close, though. Steffler actually needs to get this sword. All right, finally, with a double here, is going to be able to move on to the next round.
The double hits are especially nice. Saves a lot of time. Steffler is almost catching up to Taker. Double Tifa is at their final hit, but the timer is taking only 6 seconds to get the kill, and they do it nicely. So this is an insane time by Double Tifa. Do remember, we go with in-game time, and according to the timer on the player screen here, this is going to be very, very nice. So did Taker and Steffler. KTH running a little bit behind. It seems like it's the theme, but those players are so good. If you are just I don't know, 15 seconds behind, feels like you're losing a lot.
Yeah, this is, above 8 minutes is kind of outside where you dying just before delivering the final hit, unfortunately. So losing another second, 8:06 real time. We'll see what it ends up being in game time. It's okay, it's solid, but throughout the season we would have thought like this is a good run, but here in the Ultimate Finals, 7:32 starts to look like maybe not quite enough, and it does mean KTH is going to hold on to third place, but Double Tifa has clawed back with a PB 7:05. I thought, after that lawnmower, you might have been tempted to count Double Tifa out, but my goodness, they're making the comeback.
They still have a lot to work for here, because they're 21 points behind Steffler. Taker is catching up to the first place here, 4 points behind.
Even a new race PB for Steffler, not enough to hold off the charge of Taker. And with the next game coming up being Rack, it certainly puts the ball in Taker's court. Very early on, Taker had a time minutes faster than anyone else on the leaderboard, and they seemed totally unstoppable. Over time, players have started to really put time into this game, partly because Taker showed them it was possible, and of course, new stuff is always being found, and the players who were trying to compete at the highest level realized, I can't let Taker get 20, 30 points on me in this game. So as a whole, the community started to catch up, but certainly Taker is still pretty far ahead of everyone in this game. It is a big opportunity for them to make up points, and maybe enough to catch Steffler here in game number 6.
So the 200 points are at 18 minutes, which is very surprising for a game where the world record set yesterday or 2 days ago is now at 11:03. But the game has changed so much since early February that it's been a difficult time for a lot of people to learn Rack and to adjust to all the new strats, but all those players, the 8 qualified for the this weekend, tournament here, the Ultimate Finals here, have adjusted quite well. Double Fake HEH Stifler did their best, but obviously Taker is playing at another level. This is a fast-paced first-person shooter. It's heavily inspired by Doom, has those weird cel shading graphics and a lot of mismatched element and weird feeling weapons, but when you're trying to go fast, the game takes all its sense. The bar, the combo bar that the players are charging right now, you see 3 bars filled on screen here. When you know exactly what you're doing and when you know where to charge and what you're looking for, they allow you to do that and one-shot a boss, which is awesome. So it's all about working out those tiny details, and Taker has done that extensively, meaning that you have to look for their combo bar because they're going to try to fill that out consistently throughout the entire run. So everybody else is going to do, but it's going to be a little bit harder for everybody else, it seems.
Taker turning around to get the last bit of the combo, backing up through the door into the boss fight, is going to be able to do most of the damage by firing off that combo during the cutscenes. It just needs to hold down the shoot button to get one final hit as soon as the cutscene ends. Double Tifa as well, basically one-shotting the boss. Stifler's going to make sure they do it by getting a little bit closer. It's a little weird. I don't really understand exactly how to do it during the cutscene. You need to slide a little bit further into the room before the cutscene starts. It evades me even to this day, but certainly the players understand it a little better and were able to leverage it there. Moving on to the second level, everyone has done a great job keeping up with Taker. I think actually, he really is just so much better at this game that is kind of the story of any race that Taker is in. Yeah, not letting him get too far ahead. Really impressed with everyone's play through the first level. Going to get a little more complicated in the second one though.
So charging up a new charge here as the Taker and everybody else is going through the stage. Everything has a goal, and you don't do anything randomly here when you play through rack at that level. When you're aiming for 14, 13 minutes, 12 minutes even times, you know exactly what you're doing. So killing those enemies because you have to. The swords has the highest DPS at that point in the game, and those robots have a lot of HP. So you want to leverage the fact that the sword has a wind-up animation pretty long, and if you do manage to get those hits cleanly, you don't take any hits in return. Moving through the stage very quickly, you will notice that all the runners are strafing constantly, so pressing forward and left or right to go at an angle and go even faster, accumulating the two vectors, the two speed from going forward and to the side. This is clearly an homage or a reference to Doom and all the 90s first-person shooters. They all have that. Quake, Doom, Exxon, Blood, all those. You want to be
GoldenEye, Perfect Dark. It wasn't until I think kind of Halo that things started to change. Well, another stick basically kind of changed the game. But yeah, it is a pretty common thing, and it's weird if you're not familiar with it because you're constantly moving diagonally. You need to constantly be looking away from the direction you want to go. But it really is completely necessary in order to go fast in this game. So this is a 10-game speedrun competition. You might be pretty familiar with platformers like Mega Man. Maybe you could pick up a game like Minute pretty quick, but a first-person shooter with strafe running, if you've never done or played that kind of thing before, it can definitely be a pretty uphill battle to incorporate this game into your full decathlon run. Obviously, everyone here at least has some experience with them because everyone is doing extremely well here. But Taker definitely still the leader of the bunch, jumping off the spider, doing a little skip here. There's a number of skips. You've probably seen the players jumping over these pegs in a couple different places. We're going to go back over the same way. Just no reason to fight these things.
The speed at which they're doing those crouch jumping. It feels like it's just a straight jump and going for the turbosphere.
Wow.
Getting it, the turbosphere is going to double your speed for 15 seconds. So if you were just plain running, that would be like saving you 15 seconds. Obviously, you're stopping just a little bit during the elevator and the turning back and killing the enemies, so it saves roughly 8 to 10 seconds depending on how well you execute on it. And it is super risky. If you fail, you lose about 40 seconds. So the trade is not necessarily in the runner's favor, but Taker has decided that every single bit counts on rack. So they're building up a combo currently. Obviously, you always want to be doing that because multiplying your damage by, I think it's about 10 or 16 where you have the full combo, so that allows you in one clean hit to take off 1000 HP of the boss health here, and the bosses have insane amount of HP compared to your damage output.
Yeah, they do take quite a while. Thankfully, the pulse rifle that the players picked up does a really good job at dealing damage. It's a little tricky to use. You can see it falls off pretty heavily, so you have to account for that and aim upwards, but you also want to be aiming as low as possible on Mechrons so that your shots connect with the boss as it starts to sink down. If you're shooting too high, you can't react in time to stop shooting. Some of your shots are going to miss, and also you're going to waste ammo. So both these things are, oh my god, Taker always going for the jump at the end of the fight. Highly unnecessary, saves just a little bit of time. And of course, if you're too early on your jump, you're just going to end up in the lava and have to redo the entire fight. It's crazy to me that Taker does this in races, but it seems to work out for them.
You'll notice that the weapons take a lot of screen estate, but especially the charged sword takes, feels like it takes like 2/3 of the screens at least. But when you're playing, it doesn't matter at all. You know exactly what you're doing, and the tiny cues you have on screen and between your arms are way enough to navigate those rooms. So it's just one of those viewers' bad experience, but doesn't prevent the runners from going fast. Taker in the stage 4 here, already cleaning the rooms with the pulse rifle, deals a lot of damage, and we'll see a lot of that weapon because it's an insane amount of DPS, allows you to charge your shots pretty quickly, and just clears everything. Nice jumps on the geometry here. Devil Thief has actually found that trick, leveraging the tiny slope there is on the
what happened?
And yeah, I'm not sure.
The shot just, it looked like it connected absolutely, but then it definitely didn't because that boss was still alive. So weird, unlucky break there for Taker. Just take my word for it that charged shotgun combo will one-shot that boss in a pretty hilarious fashion, actually sending it flying across the room. Hopefully we see it from some of the other players.
Yep.
Maybe it's too late.
We'll see. I'm not sure. I've seen that happen live a week ago, and it's still unclear. I saw that Taker shot too late, but clearly did not feel like it, and they did literally 0 damage with that charge. I don't know. It's weird, but it's done, and Taker is still moving on super quickly. But yeah, keep an eye on Devil Thief screen. They have the full charge, and they will get the Doom Sphere on the jumping on the corner here. Struggling a little bit with the jump, but here we go. And yeah, that works.
That's how it's supposed to go. You saw Taker go right in this room. Devil Thief is going to go left. Kind of doesn't matter. It's sort of a personal preference thing, I think. I'm pretty sure it's mirrored on both sides. Yeah. And you get to hold on to the Doom Sphere for a little bit after, too. So most of the things along here will die in one shotgun shot, but you can be a little looser with your aim and still take out some of the spiders. So nice to always be going as fast as possible because you're doing a speed run, but the faster you go, the longer you get to hold on to that Doom Sphere. We can see that Doom Sphere will be pretty important if Taker decides to go for some of the crazy stuff. For now, using a shotgun combo on the boss here, the Nash boss, the totally forgettable boss. Just go around the outside of the stage, pick up the pulse ammo while trying to keep your cursor trained on them. It's a little hard once they start moving because you need to lead the shots vertically as well as horizontally. But the boss just completely stood still for Taker, so even more brainless than usual, moving on to the next level.
That boss gets killed with the Doom Sphere on the Waldoker now, so it's, rack speedrunning is getting even more complicated as the time goes down, and, the bosses are getting even more forgettable as you kill them in a couple of hits. But moving on towards level 6 here on Taker's screen, something that's totally not forgettable is that huge rocket launcher taking, once again, half of your screen, but allowing you, obviously, taking some hits,
okay.
like Taker, not enough health.
It's to go to the other side, more health over here.
Oh,
the number,
nope.
That's it. All right, you need to be over 100 health in order to do what Taker is trying to do. This is a pretty big setback, but Taker is so gosh darn fast at this game, is still ahead by a significant margin here on take number 2. Boss fights for everyone else. Devil Tifa has the boss down below half. Is picking up as much of the pulse ammo as they can because it is so important and so good at killing bosses. Had, I think, over 100 at the end of the fight, so exactly where you want to be. Meanwhile, Taker has done the rocket jump after, finally having over 100 health to survive it in the first place, and is just going to continue flying, it seems.
Yeah, the game is called Rack, and it's getting destroyed by the runners right now, just moving super quickly through the stage. Taker knows oh wow, and misses the jump, goes for the backup on the spider's back here. Not so easy to do. Jumping on the spiders, it looks fairly easy on those runner screens, but they actually are attacking you, and anything hitting you is going to knock you back, and quite a bit, so you have to jump exactly at the correct time, and if you miss, well, apparently Taker is making me eating my word because I wanted to say you will have to try and set up, and it's going to be way slower, but apparently Taker has worked on all the backup strats as well.
They really do just operate on another level in this game. Rocket jumps for KTH now happening, and did get section complete, exactly what you want to see. This is skipping like half the level, by the way. You're supposed to go to the one side and hit a switch, and then go all the way to the other side and hit a switch. And you can see like everything KTH is doing here, this is all just one side. You would have to do basically something of roughly equal length on the other side if you didn't have this rocket jump skip. Taker also doing a rocket jump here on the next stage, is extremely low on health, has built up a combo, is going to try to keep it. It does manage to hold on to it. It's going to use the rocket launcher to take out the enemies here, and then not blow themselves up with the super crazy full charge combo with the rocket launcher. The radius on it is so big, it is hard to understate how big it is. Taker barely not killing themselves with it, and is on a fantastic level 7 here. This is so much harder to do than Taker is making it look.
Yeah, plus they got back to full charge here, switching to the shotgun, because it's been discovered that the full charge shotgun is actually what deals the most damage to those bosses. Oh wow, Stifler got almost knocked back to those lightnings on the bottom of the pit here that instantly kill you, but safely return to the ground. No, the health is ticking down. You don't want to lose any health on level 6 here, because if you look on Taker's screen, they're oh no, they're way farther than I thought. But everybody is trying to save health entering level 7. Taker is actually almost done with the boss already. How do you build up such a lead during such a short game? It's still a mystery.
Yep, he really is just that good at this game. We've been saying it all season long, and the story, it's changed a little bit. You can see everyone else is at least still, on the same level, basically. But like it really was at a point early on in the season where this would not be the case. It would be full minutes ahead of the competition. Still are ahead, but everyone has gotten a little bit better, in part thanks to the work that Taker has put in to this game. KTH hitting this button here, killing themselves immediately afterwards to reset all of the enemies. You have to do this if you're not going to do the rocket jump, which you might not want to do if you're in a bad health situation. Instead of resetting all the way back to the again with better health, you might instead opt to just press on the way KTH is. So both buttons pressed now, doing it the old-fashioned way. Still going to be trying to build up a combo heading onto that bridge, though.
That bridge has killed so many runners, and it's one of the hardest part in the game. But the fully charged rocket makes it looks a little bit easy. Apparently, Taker going for the crazy.
Oh my goodness!
And
on the spider, on the tall enemy. Nope, not gonna happen. Oh,
so
it's so tough.
Taker went for is super worse, but almost impossible. You have to climb on 3 different enemies with so many trying to kill you to keep the Doom Sphere up until the boss fight here. Do remember that it only lasts 15 seconds, so you have to climb all the way back here, past clip through the green walls, and finally get to the boss fight to deal insane amount of damage and actually kill the boss 4 times faster. So it would be done already. So it's very, very worth doing, but on grind, not in a race setting. It's so hard. It's really crazy to go for it.
I think only 2 players in the decathlon have been willing to go for it in a race. Taker is one of them. Lilia, the other, actually, I think has maybe had the second best time compared to Taker on the leaderboard for a while now. They did go for it in a race. I can't remember if it was out of desperation or if it was something that they felt that they wanted to do, but no one else has been crazy enough to even try, just given the sheer difficulty, despite the rewards that it brings. Devil Tifa is joining Taker in the final stage here, gets 1 clip through the green wall here. It's surprisingly easy. You just line up diagonally just so, and you'll just waltz right through it.
Alright. The boss fight takes so long. Taker is finally at the final 10% here. I don't know what happened to the devs, but putting 17,000 HP here was maybe a bit much. Devil Tifa is already deep into the boss fight, 14,000 health remaining to the boss. Meanwhile, Stifler and KTH entered the stage pretty much in sync. I'm not sure either of them should attempt the Doom Sphere, considering their PB. They're probably not even ever practiced it. So Taker is done. We'll see Devil Tifa finishing soon, and KTH struggling just a little bit to clip through the walls, but entering the boss fight as well.
It's gonna make up for it a little bit. Steffler only had a level 1 charge to use on the boss here, whereas KTH is going to have a level 2 charge, so a bit of a head start on the HP. And as you can see there, the values are pretty close here, so KTH backing up using some rockets here. It's very easy to kill yourself with a rocket launcher in this section. You need to be right up against the wall in order to hit the boss with it. And then if the boss swings and knocks down the spikes around the outside of the stage, they do have collision on them, and so if they fall on top of you while you shoot, it will cause you to blow yourself up. So need to be very careful with the rocket launcher in this fight. But at least you can see more clearly what the boss is doing compared to being right up in front of him with the sword taking up half the screen.
That rocket launcher has killed the players at least as much as the boss did. Like, the boss is not a difficult one. The patterns are pretty easy to read. It doesn't deal so many damage, and I don't know. It's a tough one to get through, but you have to know exactly the safe distance to use that rocket launcher, and then you're good. So very close between KTH and Stifler, but better fight for KTH actually, finishing the boss. Oh, maybe not. Maybe the Pulsar is going to give Stifler the lead. Oh, 600 and well, almost done. And
switching to the sword,
swing.
One final swing from KTH. Just one sword swing ahead. Nice show from both of these players. Devil Tifa finishing ahead. Almost PBs for everyone but Taker. Steffler with a race PB, Devil Tifa with a race PB, KTH with the best time they've ever had in rack ever.
So we are 6 games into the decathlon here. Remains Neo Turf Master Kirby, VVV, and The Messenger. Taker has passed finally Stifler. Stifler kept the lead for the 5 first games, and now Taker is 8 points ahead of Stifler in second, and Devil Tifa just passed KTH. KTH was third for the longest time, but finally Devil Tifa crawled back up to the third place. Clearly, Lawnmower cost them a lot. But now they're 16 points behind Steffler. What are we looking at, Mythical, in terms of what are the possibilities for the next 4 games?
Well, for Neo Turf Masters, Double Tifa has the best time of the bunch, actually, with an 11:37, which in some cases is like almost a full minute ahead of some of the other players in the competition. Certainly Taker is very good at every game, so you will not find Taker below the top 10, I think, in any game. So not a big lead over Taker for Devil Tifa, but over KTH, that's 56 minutes advantage in PV for Neo Turf Masters alone. And Devil Tifa rather has finished extremely well both in grind and as well as during their grand finals qualification. It was grand finals, but it was also qualification for this finals. So KTH, or I keep going back to KTH, but it's Devil Tifa who scored phenomenally in VVV. The Messenger Kirby was in top 3 in all those games. So if they're able to reproduce that this time, I think they could continue to climb. I don't count Devil Tifa out of the top 4.
All right. So next up is Neo Turf Master, and this is a game Devil Tifa actually once again them was super scared of. They entered the game here live, asking the audience what player, what golfer they should take, and they did not practice the game too much during the season. They did not enjoy the speedrun whatsoever, and so just practice the game the 2 weeks between the grand finals and the ultimate finals, and yeah, we entered the race here super nervous. Plus they were far back, maybe a little bit more than what they hoped for at that point. So it's an interesting race, and to be honest, Neo Turf Master is maybe one of the most fun games we've had in the season, in the commentary seat at least. It's the grand finals, the last chance tournament races on that games were just phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen many races where every single player on stream had been first, second, third, and fourth at some point during the race, but that was the case for that race. Super exciting. We're off here, teeing off on the first hole. Incredibly straightforward. Wind helping out a little bit for KTH, opposite for Steffler and Taker, but it's slow enough that it's really not going to be a problem, except somehow KTH has ended up in the heavy rough on the first hole. This is really not a good sign for the play to come, and trying to hit out of the heavy rough with a 3-iron for some reason. The accuracy required to do that very high, so missing the ball entirely. What a weird start for KTH.
Quick reset for Stifler. The configuration was off, and they switched profile super quickly. So they restarted with the Brazilian guy instead of the Japanese player. The save states were mixed up, and so they're back in the race here, and the time difference from the start is not going to be counted for them. So just it's like they started 40 seconds behind everybody else. So now Taker and Devil Tifa are where most of the action is going to be. So same contest here, and you certainly don't want to win the contest. So and Taker is just whiffing on that hit, maybe intentionally, not to be sure not to land that contest.
I guess so. They maybe didn't like their shot. I don't want to believe that they just completely missed on the accuracy, but whatever the case, that is going to drop them back a little bit. Innocence Lost wants to know how the tournament works. This is a 10-game speedrun event. These 10 games were chosen way back in February, and the whole community has been working at speedrunning these 10 games. Different categories, usually pretty short categories for each game. Sometimes the games themselves are just very short. Just to keep the players sane. They only had a couple months to learn all of these games, so you don't want to give them a huge, massive project across many games. But they come back and everyone just plays each game in a row. You score points based off of how fast you go at each game, and so the points are weighted. There some times are chosen to kind of create a scale so that going really fast at a very short game is just as important as going really fast at a longer game. And that's why the points are there. So really what you're looking at is go fast, get points. Most points is going to win. We've got 8 players, and 4 of them are playing today. 4 will play tomorrow. The best 4 will move on to play on Sunday. And whoever comes in on top there is going to be the Ultimate Decathlon Season 7 Ultimate Champion.
That's a lot of ultimate, but that's pretty much all it's down to, as Stifler gets the birdie here on the 4th course. Devil Tifa is going to try to get a tiny sandwich shot near the hole here on the 5th green, getting so far being in the 1st place. KTH is trailing behind with a very, very weird start, and eagle for Taker with a nice 3 shots, 5th hole here. So Taker is trying to crawl back, but Devil Tifa is super scared with Neo Turf Master, super handsy. Got their very, very nice hook shot directly onto the green here on the 6th course, going for eagle on KTH screen. So the Brazilian is treating very well all those runners.
Eagle putts for both Devil Tifa and Taker. Steffler for birdie. Nice job by everyone at this particular moment. I'm pretty sure they're all still on this. No, actually, KTH is a full hole behind, so was a little bit misled there by the matching eagles. Really good job eagling the 5th hole. Actually, that's not so easy to do. The 6th hole requires a bit of help from the wind. I think maybe if you get the perfect shot, you can do it even with a 0 wind, but it really is a very difficult shot on the 6th. KTH not quite able to make it happen, tapping it in. Going to be moving on, but still about a full hole behind Devil Tifa, but right there with Steffler.
Taker not getting so good at the 7th hole here, going for a par. Going for the par sadly costs you credits. The lives tick down if you get the par, which is a little bit unfair to be honest, but that's how arcade game works. They want to eat all your coins, and you don't want to do that because refilling your lives even on that free play Neo Geo emulated console takes up a little bit of time. Devil Tifa is not having the easiest putt here on the slope. The green on hole 8 is going to divert them just a little bit, and sadly going to cost them a little bit of time. Plus, do remember, that the Brazilian golfer is super bad at putting.
You can see the meter is broken up into these squares. They're not really supposed to be squares. They're supposed to be thin little rectangles, but he's so bad at it that his meter is just that chunky and gives you a lot less control over how hard you hit it. Taker also struggling on the green, coming in with a double bogey here. KTH overhitting, is going to be able to hold on and not end up in the water, thankfully, but still is not going to be able to be putting so well from the rough. Remarkably, you can putt out of the rough in this game, but extremely difficult to actually put it in from that state. Most players are hoping that it just bounces off the pin, and KTH didn't get the pin, but it was able to tap in for birdie. Devil Tifa gonna have to settle with a par. Same with Steffler. Taker right there with Devil Tifa, catching up a little bit with a birdie.
All right, so halfway through the course, Devil Tifa is in the lead by just a little bit, 32 hits on Taker's scorecard. It's not the best. You can actually finish the entire course in about 32 shots if you land almost task perfect all your hits. But it's to be noted that that's pretty much what you want to go for in Neo Turf Master speedrunning. You want to go for as least amount of shots possible, so it's not just for shows, you have to play golf as fast as you can, but also as well as you can. It's not just about filling those meters and going randomly with your shots. Devil Tifa going for the water hazard and stroke penalty intentionally here to be able to cross those 2 rivers in just 2 shots here and landing on the green nicely. So Taker is doing exactly the same thing, and Stifler and KTH are trying to catch back up, but trailing quite a bit behind.
Nice shot from KTH, but the backspin is going to cause this ball to roll for a full second afterwards. Does mean the putt is maybe a little bit easier, though, just has to go straight up, whereas Devil Tifa had a up and down, or I guess it was down and up putt that they were not quite able to make, had to tap in for par. Is facing the longest drive contest. It's pretty hard to win the closest to the pin contest, but it is surprisingly easy, especially with this. Well, I guess it tailors the contest to the player, but the power golfer will be all too willing to drive the ball very far on the first shot, and winning the contest is going to cost you like 15 seconds or something while it plays and does a big celebration. So what should be a lot of fun, it actually turns out to be pretty frustrating. No winning contest for anyone today, however. Devil Tifa completely missing a shot out of the rough.
Coming out of the rough nicely and cleanly can be very, very difficult. You can sometimes putt nicely directly into the hole, but mostly the pin is going to prevent any nice attempt. To be honest, that coming into the hole from anything but the green is feels almost impossible. Meanwhile, Taker, Stifler trying to catch up. Actually, Taker caught up. My bad. Devil Tifa falling down into the water is going to go back from the fairway here, and going to try to go for the pin. Those shots can be very, very tricky, and that is costing Devil Tifa quite a lot of time here.
Thankfully, Taker was also struggling a little bit on the green. That ball is just going to barely get in for Devil Tifa. Is going to do it with a par. Taker with a bogey, very close together. Both of them about a full hole ahead of Stifler and KTH. Stifler is going to be moving on to the 13th here, teeing off. KTH just now tapping in on the 12th, closest to the pin contest. Another contest popping up for Devil Tifa. We'll see if they're able to successfully avoid this with their shot. It's they're not going to be able to win from there, and it is a pretty decent distance away from the hole, kind of exactly where you want to be in this situation, adjusting for the green, perfectly tapping in for the birdie, staying just a little bit ahead of Taker.
This is a close race between Devil Tifa and Taker. I'm very surprised with KTH trailing behind so much and having so much trouble on Neo Turf Master, because that's one of their very, very strong games, and one that carried them into the Ultimate Finals here. So a little bit surprising. Devil Tifa going for the biggest club they can here to land as close to the green as they can, but this is a very bad hole 15. Ooh, nice shot though, merely a meter away from the hole.
Wow, the synchronization between these two. This has been pretty crazy to watch between the two of them battling it out. Stifler and KTH are pretty far behind compared to them, so we don't have that miraculous 4-person race we saw before, but a pretty fantastic pair of races is forming here on the top and bottom. Both players teeing off, trying to curl around this big mound on the 16th hole, maybe the most difficult hole of the course. Successful shots from both players despite the differing wind patterns. Devil Tifa's was a little harder to deal with, intentionally driving into the heavy rough, still completely in sync. The wind is going in opposite directions of the same value, so it's like they're mirrored or something. Oh man. This has been, the whole difference is pretty different here. So Devil Tifa has a much more difficult putt. Oh, wow.
That putt is incredible. Devil Tifa lost a little bit of time, just landing on the green so much further to the hole, but still being there. Oh, and you'll notice Devil Tifa is in first place and Taker in second, but no one cares about the actual golf competition. What you care about is not landing on that green on the hole 17 here. Devil Tifa is losing a lot of time because it's not so easy to climb on that hill, and fails on the second try, and now sometimes you're just like stuck in a loop. Meanwhile, Taker finishes hole 17, and Devil Tifa climbs there, but Stifler actually passed them right now.
Many shots behind now is Devil Tifa. Steffler tapping in on the 16th, so going to be joining them actually on the 17th. KTH has been struggling quite a bit, is on the 16th hole, but did get the really difficult shot around that big mound. Is going to be driving almost all the way to the green actually, but instead is going to be in the heavy rough. Meanwhile, Taker on the 18th, the final hole, has hit the difficult shot to post up on that little hill that lets you drive to the green, is barely going to hold on and not roll down that hill, has a very straightforward putt to finish off here. The timer is going to read about a 12:24. This is a very solid time for a race.
Yep, this is very good. The world record was at 12 minutes when the UD7 started. Its RNG got passed by Super Lingard and KTH and so many runners that they had to come back to grinding the game, and the world record is now at 10 something. It's insane how much time they still had to save on Neo Turf Master. Steffler is in a rough spot here, the heavy rough. The out of bound forces them back to the beginning. They want to land on the hill, sadly not leveraging the wind well enough, setting them back to the beginning once again.
Interesting strat, down ranking a club here, counting on the wind to make up the difference. It's going to work out, except he's directly behind a tree, in front of the tree. Where is it going to be? Oh, that is not what you want to see. This tree is going to hit the... Wait, he's through clean. He hit too far even because of the wind. Oh boy, it's so hard to control when this happens. KDH also ended up in the out of bounds area on top of this mound here. Second shot is going to be good, but Steffler's already done.
Yep. You can finish even without actually clearing the hole, but that costs you a lot of time. There's no way to go faster than a golfer that would actually clear the hole. So KTH is going to finish in about, not even 14 minutes. Double bogey here. It's going to be a 14.6, and yeah, that's a very surprising result from KTH, so they're falling even further behind now at 14.59, 15 points behind Devil Tifa. Devil Tifa is 10 points behind Stifler, and now Taker is taking the lead by quite a bit at 15.03.
Taker is very strong on every game, but Kirby is maybe Taker's one weakness, and if he could be said to have a weakness, it would be Kirby. So opportunity here for the players to start to not let Taker run away with it at the end here. And of course, they're competing against each other, and the 4 other players we'll see play tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. But for now, next up is going to be Kirby's Dreamland. This is Kirby's debut on the Game Boy before Kirby got copy powers, before Kirby was even pink, actually. This is black and white Kirby. Players are going to be playing with all kinds of colors thanks to the wonder that is palette settings on BizHawk, the emulator. But it's a lovely little game, marred perhaps a little bit by the heavy RNG factor.
The Kirby is such a weird game for the community. It has been a love and hate relationship with the RNG and the tight movement and how difficult the game is, to be honest, compared to speedrun at a high level, because playing it casually, it's one of the easiest games on the Game Boy, and even from that entire era. I cannot remember. Maybe the Royal Land games are easy as well. You cannot really die on those, but those are some very, very easy to go through games. And to speedrun, well, let's see. It's just starting, and the first level is a exercise of memorization. Taker taking a lot of hits there, already 3 HP down, and taking hits sadly shifts the RNG a little bit, so maybe Poppy Bros Senior is going to be a little bit mean to them. We'll see what's going to happen.
Taker actually took a second hit there, a second unintentional hit. The players are going to be taking many intentional hits for damage boosts and invincibility frames. Will take a little bit of time, but also will create a lot of stars when Kirby swallows and spits things out. All kinds of little stars appear, and each of those sprites is lovingly rendered and crafted by the poor Game Boy who gets overworked trying to draw them all and ends up lagging quite a bit. So lag management is a huge factor in this game. Players are taking very careful routes through the levels to make sure that they minimize it as much as possible. Taker, with 1 health left through that screen, was pretty scary. I don't think there's much of a concern of getting hit through the rest of this climb. I mean, we have seen players get bopped on the head by Wispy Woods with those apples, so as long as Taker can avoid that, he's going to be able to get through this risky situation.
I don't think we've seen anyone die on the first level of Kirby's Dream Land since like the first chance tournament. It's been long, at least. I don't remember it happened ever. And yeah, Taker with 1 less hit is not even so far behind. Tied with KTH, decent RNG through the level, carrying them through those mistakes. But Devil Tifa is in the lead and trying Castle of Low.
Has chosen a I'm gonna say it's a garish pattern here. This yellow and blue and red is it's not working for me, but it's working for Devil Tifa. They are in the lead. Moving on to the second level here, trying to grab the star as fast as possible. The intro to this level is pretty easy and straightforward. Just don't accidentally use the microphone that's sitting between the 2 doors, and you're pretty much good. You'll certainly lose a second or 2 compared to a pro, but you can do pretty good. But the second half, especially if you're going for the curry strats, it looks like Devil Tifa is not. It becomes extremely important to optimize. Looks like everyone is going to pass up on that curry.
Yep, Molly Man made them their name famous for going for that curry, even though all the pro Kirby speedrunners were saying that it was not worth going for, but some unit runners made it work for them quite nicely during the season. Devil Tifa is trying to optimize the Lololo and Lala fight as much as they can, going for some double hits and yeah, getting us 5 cycles here. So nice lead, but Taker actually, I was focused on Devil Tifa because they were in the lead, but passed them and got through the dance in the first place, and the Float Island are just starting. Level 3 here is all about optimizing your movement and flying as little as possible. You'd rather be swimming than flying if you want to go fast. You take a lot of damage and you are a little bit scared usually with your HP, just because Kabula, the boss fight, is very, very tough to go through without taking a single hit.
Absolutely. It's a huge concern in the final level. Thankfully, this level is much shorter than going through the rest of the final level, so you can afford to be a little more risky or afford more mistakes on Kibula the first time you fight them, but of course you'd rather just have everything go perfectly the first time through. Devil Tifa is not dealing with that troublesome crab enemy between the 2 blocks. We have seen some players get caught up trying to swallow it, and it doesn't really want to get vacuumed in. KTH and Steffler are neck and neck. Both of them are about 4 seconds, I think, behind Tifa, who is about 3 seconds behind Taker, so very close, the way you might expect in a Kirby race. We'll see if it stays this way as the players head into that Kibula fight.
Alright, so Taker is about 3 seconds ahead of Devil Tifa, has 3 HP, so this should be no problem for them. Just staying close to the boss, keeping, the A button pressed, and yeah, here we go. Taking a lot of hits though, those final dodges. Okay, clutch, but getting the kill. Devil Defense just barely done. And 1 HP for KTH. KTH has been struggling quite a bit on all the games, it feels like, but do remember that just being about 10 seconds behind everybody is still very, very impressive. I'm a little bit scared though. Bubbly Cloud has killed a lot of players, and showing that you're maybe a little bit shaky on Kirby's Dream Land is not a good sign.
Yeah, we've seen just players getting into flight mode a little too late and just dropping straight off the bottom of the stage. There's a lot of weird things that can happen to you in this stage. But certainly, running out of health through the more dangerous sections that Taker is about to get to here is the most common way. But the fact that everyone is so high on health, well, Devil Tifa is took 2 hits here, so is maybe the worst off of the bunch. Taker now also down to 2 health, but this is enough, I think, for this section of the game. Taker taking just a little bit of hesitation there to make sure they jump over that really troublesome enemy. Very, very close between Devil Tifa and Taker, as it has been for most of the race. Steffler and KTH not too far behind either. Steffler is like maybe 2 seconds ahead of KTH. Everyone just watching this mini boss happen here. Very, very straightforward. Always does the same pattern, thankfully. So not too much to worry about here. But certainly when we get to the boss of this level, it is not a set pattern. It is a very random pattern, and the variation in time can matter quite a lot. Taker missing the mint here coming out of the doorway, so losing a bit of time, but still has a lot of health. No one is going to be getting the health refills through the block section here. Nice flying from both Taker and Devil Tifa.
Yeah, this is incredibly close between all those players, so everybody knows what to think now. It's all going to be down to Krakow's RNG, because as Taker and Devil Tifa are getting rid of all those blocks, Stifler and KTH are with them now, just half of a room behind, so the curry effect is going to dissipate and they're going to reach the doorway here. So Krakow fight starts, and Krakow is always going to do an attack, a movement, or something, and then either repeat or speed out an enemy, allowing you to damage them. So you want to have the perfect RNG being one movement, one enemy, and rinse and repeat. But obviously that's not exactly how it's going all the time, and most of the fights are going to be waiting and praying for better RNG, but so far so good for everybody. The Stifler is getting a stellar RNG, actually catching up with Taker, and Devil Tifa is just, merely trailing one head behind Taker here, getting the final kill, and everybody is synced up again. KTH just a head away, and here we go. So this is very, very close entering Mount DDD.
KTH, I happened to notice, actually missed Krakow, shot a projectile completely under Krakow, so to throw away a hit like that can definitely feel pretty bad, but thankfully their final few hits all came in together, so it was only one cycle lost at most there for KTH, but still, that's part of the reason why they're not quite as close with the other three as they are right now. On to the final level. It is a sort of redo of each of the levels previously. You get a little taste of them before refighting all of the boss fights, including Krakow again, so the randomness is certainly not over. DDD himself, the final boss, also has a fair amount of randomness, but this little la fight, there is some randomness at play in determining whether you can try for a double hit, but executing on it the way KTH just did is definitely all skill, so nice job from them, fighting to try to catch up here late into the run, late into the decathlon.
I'm a bit scared for Taker, only 3 HP left. This is not the situation you want to be in Mount DDD, because there is no way to refill your HP. The Kabula fight can be a little bit scary, and DDD with very low HP, you get there a little bit, at least worried. Not necessarily, maybe you can make it, but you have to play a little bit safer, and that gets you sometimes to make some mistakes. Very, very good RNG by Taker here during the fight. Devil Tifa entered at the same time, but is losing just a little bit of seconds here. Stifler as well. KTH, everybody is very close together, but do remember that you don't have to go through the bosses at the same time. Taker only 2 HP left. This is just getting me scared for them, as they're entering the Kabula fight. They're going to play from afar to be a little bit safer, but that's going to cause a little bit of lag and taking a hit right at the end here.
Oh, what do you do? In the Wispy Wood section, there's an opportunity for a quick death, and it looks like Taker is indeed going to take it, going to eat the time loss of watching this animation and having to fly back up to the door. But of course, you get that health refill, having to replay the fight, play through the rest of the game with 1 health, especially against DDD. is possible, but it is so easy to take damage in the DDD fight, particularly, as well as there are many cases where you would normally want to trade. You would, accept, I'm going to get hit by this hammer, but I'm going to get a star for it, so I'm going to trade my health for this shot here, and you don't have that option anymore if you drop down to 1 health. So I think this is probably the smart play here. Heading into Wispy Woods, I think everyone is wrapping up Wispy Woods as their final boss. Taker and Steffler extremely close together here. Taker is going to be the first one into the DDD fight, still, even after that death.
KTH has only 1 HP and did not choose to die at the start of Wispy Wood. Taker getting swallowed here. At least nobody can copy anybody's power, neither DDD or Kirby. It's just all about getting the correct patterns and executing on it. But you want to get good RNG if you ever want to kill DDD. Very good start by Devil Tifa, already only at 7 health remaining, 6 for DDD, synced up with Stifler and Taker, 5 health, 4 health remaining for Devil Tifa. 5 for Stifler, 4 for Taker, but so far everybody is having very, very good patterns. Devil Tifa in the lead, luck-wise and execution-wise. 3 health for DDD on Taker's screen, 2 on Devil Tifa, and Stifler just trailing behind by a few seconds, but Devil Tifa is going to land the final blow right now, getting the first place with a 12-17.
A great time. We've seen some sub-12s in Kirby before, but they're so hard to get. You need to be so on point with your skill, and you also need to roll the dice and have them come up in your favor as well. KTH struggling a little bit, and it got bonked on the head in Wispy Woods and had to do another cycle, so they are going to be bringing up the rear here. We'll see how their luck holds out and how their skill and execution is on this DDD fight. So far, both have been great, actually. Had 2 dashes there, but several hits, and still has 5 health to work with. And they're also doing a good job of staying close to DDD. You want to minimize the time DDD spends walking if you can, and jumping away from the vacuum at the very last moment there. This is what you need to do if you want to go as fast as you can on this fight.
KTH in chat rewatching the run and not knowing exactly what killed them in that DDD fight. That's costing them a lot of time, about 40 seconds. And yeah, I'm still not sure, to be honest. So some weird stuff has happened live on that stage, and yeah, just like the missed one shot on Rack on Taker's screen, that this is, just proof that some hitboxes can be a little bit weird sometimes, but yeah, that KTH time is way behind all the very tight times from Devil Tifa, Stifler, and Taker.
It's going to be extremely difficult to catch up to all 3 of the competitors here for KTH, so it needs a lot to go wrong for the other 4 players tomorrow for KTH to have a shot to make it to Sunday, where we will be showing whoever advanced at that point. Of course, again, this is a rebroadcast here of events that already happened. So we'll be switching tenses in a little bit and confusing timelines a little bit, but we'll do our best to stay on point. I guess confusing timelines and time and space is the perfect time to tell you about VVV. It's going to be game number 9. It is a viciously hard speedrun, probably the hardest of the bunch, definitely for me, and yeah. I think for you as well, Twin.
I do agree. It is a very, very difficult game to go fast through. It's not the hardest to understand, but conceptually going fast through those rooms and remembering the exact route and rhythm at which you have to clear those tight movements is very, very difficult. And the players have shown great skill. And so the race is about to start through that. It's a platformer game, but you cannot really jump. You can just revert the gravity. So you get stuck to the ground or to the ceiling, and it tells you to skip, spikes and holes and stuff. Taker and Stifler had a little bit of a weird controller issue. They could not skip the cutscene right at the start, so the race is mainly going to be first Devil Tifa versus KTH, and then we'll focus on Stifler versus Taker.
All right, so eyes on the top of the screen then for now until that thing sort of gets sorted out. On the bottom half, currently KTH a little bit ahead here, just one screen. Certainly, VVV is a game where one death can set you back. Not like 40 seconds or whatever, but certainly enough to switch between who is in the lead here. And deaths are quite easy to happen to you, even for extremely good players. Devil Tifa in particular is probably the strongest of the four we have here, is third overall on the Ultimate Decathlon leaderboards, had the best qualifying time in grand finals, and is just rock solid at this game. So KTH is a little bit ahead here. They got to be happy about that. We'll see if they can hold on to it as the players are done with the introductory section here, the space station. And the next four sections can be tackled in whichever order you choose. But there is a fastest order based off of the length of time it takes for text boxes to happen, some of the conversations with your crew members that you're rescuing. So probably we're going to see everyone head off to Space Station 2 next.
Yeah, it's the natural order if you want to go fast, and it's pretty convenient because going to this Space Station 2 first in grind makes you go through arguably the longest level, and longest usually means hardest in a lot of speedrun of that caliber. So Devil Tifa and KTH making their way through the overworld to find that first level. It's pretty hard to actually, get a grasp of where you are in those big empty rooms, especially since you're, scrolling between a lot of different screens. So we've seen in the past a lot of players actually getting lost for up to a couple of minutes, actually. But now the players are masters at going through those rooms exactly as they want to, saving a lot of time. So KTH and Devil Tifa making their way through the stage here. So the Space Station 2 features those conveyor belts that are actually going pretty fast and slow you down heavily. You don't want to stop, and there are a lot of very, very precise tricks to get correct flips and actually save just a tiny bit of time here and there, but Devil Tifa or KTH are not going for those, just playing fast and trying not to die, not going for those frame perfect inputs.
KTH just catch a corner of the lies text there. That is a pretty costly death. Did not hit this checkpoint right there, and got sent back quite a ways, enough to put Devil Tifa in the lead by a couple of rooms now, just with one death. It was KTH's second death. Devil Tifa is yet to die. There's me with the jinx, but that's you gotta call it as you see it sometimes. Plus, it's already happened. We're in the future here, so I couldn't possibly have jinxed Devil Tifa as he races ahead
in the
of
past.
KTH.
You jinxed it now.
Does it work like that?
I don't know how it works. But now KTH and Devil Tifa are super close together. Devil Tifa is just a tiny room ahead, and those rooms here down under and the next one have killed a lot of players. But now KTH has synced back up and is synced up exactly at the end of Space Station 2. So moving onwards, the players are usually going to the tower next, and the tower conveniently is an auto-scroller, so we'll keep the sync going for as long as possible.
And unfortunately, with only two racers, we will not be able to have that miraculous effect of the top screen scroll, or the bottom screen scrolling into the top screen, or
I don't want to overhype anything, but we may have a surprise for you in the future. So you will have to be there on Saturday evening at 6 p.m. and on Sunday evening, but
I'm looking forward to it.
Is going to be pretty hype on those races. I know exactly because I've seen the past. But entering the tower here, Devil Tifa and KTH very, very close together. KTH just got stuck on a couple of turns back, and is about half a second behind. You can go for crazy suicides, barely touching the checkpoints to get the scrolling to go just a little bit faster, but it doesn't save much time if not done perfectly.
Yeah, and the cost of dying too soon and not hitting the checkpoint is can be pretty bad. So especially with an auto scroller where you can't speed it up, you're just kind of forced to watch the checkpoint that betrayed you slowly appear on the screen for a second time. And so for that reason, the risk reward hasn't quite been worth it for a lot of players. VVV has been a hard enough game that players have been pretty unwilling to go for that strat. So pretty safe, cautious, steady ascent through the tower is going to be the play for everyone, I think. We'll see, I guess. But that has been the case throughout the season. And I don't think the ultimate live finals in front of a big crowd of people all watching you is maybe the best time to bust out some of the new strats that you've been working on. But whatever players feel more comfortable with. This is a bit of a tricky spot, not running into the spikes there. But after that, you're basically home free. Just don't wait. Make sure you wait enough that you don't run into the spikes on the ceiling before that floor appears, which I guess is the ceiling, but that's how this game works. Very close together, no deaths in the tower, still synced like we thought it would be.
Yeah. Next up, you go through Space Station 2, the tower, and you have a nice intermission here. You're lost during the process of the teleportation back to the base, so you have to guide Vermilion through the set of rooms, but Vermilion is scared and is only going to move if your feet are on the ground. Sadly, they're going to move no matter what if your feet are on the ground, so you have to use your flips to actually get them to stop and not die on the spikes. So it is not so easy to navigate, especially some of those rooms. You'll see the players go back and forth. KTH here playing very slow to be sure that Vermilion doesn't go head onto those spikes on the wall. Here, Not As I Do is one of the horror room. Nice flip here by Double Tifa. KTH is going to go for even a faster strat here, and very nice execution, getting the players very close together. Going for the exact same strats in the set of rooms here, but the intermission here is one of the horror section of the entire game.
Yeah, and this has been a fantastic intermission one for both players. This has been a treat to watch, especially that Not As I Do. The flip that KTH did seems quite similar to the one Devil Tifa did, but the way the platforms align, it actually is a lot tougher. And when you're dealing with frame windows as small as 3, 2, or even 1 frames, going for a smaller one means going for a trick that can be 33 or 50% more difficult to hit. So hats off to KTH for going for that in this situation. Both players are now racing off to a very difficult zone, the warp zone. The biggest hurdle here is, I found, memorization. These guys are very good at this game, as you can tell, but they're not experts. This isn't the one game that they speedrun. This is one game of 10, plus all the other decathlons that people have done, right? So their attention is split among many different things, and so having to memorize every screen in this warp zone, I found to be a very difficult task.
Alright, not lost in the maze, knowing exactly what they're doing. Double Tifa and KTH are still super close together. Double Tifa is a couple of rooms ahead of KTH. Those are very short rooms, do notice. And the warp zone is super confusing because of the way it's built. It's single rooms with only one exit, and every other pass from up to top, up to bottom, and left to right actually warp together. So it's you cannot reset the cycles. If you die, the moving parts keep on going, like Devil Tifa is showing right now, allowing KTH to actually pass them, and very quickly the players are back synced up. Shockwave Rider here is one of the hardest rooms in my opinion, but obviously those guys don't even flinch, and yeah, the sync is real here.
Fantastic watch through the warp zone here. It can be very tricky to keep track of what's going on, even as a viewer, let alone when you are a player. Oh, KTH flipping just a little bit too soon. The sync is broken, and now they're maybe a little bit shaken there with a second death. We'll see if they can pull themselves together. Meanwhile, we got the players back up and running on the bottom half of the screen. Their controls are set, and don't worry, there are times will be adjusted accordingly, but they are currently in the tower. As Devil Tifa dies in I Love You, this is a bad screen to die on. You have two different things operating on different cycles, and sometimes they don't line up in a very nice... Whoa, definitely not lined up anymore.
Devil Tifa is one of the better players out of in the world, actually, on VVV, and as pointed in chat, those guys maybe are not like specialists. They're not expert in the sense of they're not running only the game, but they're very, very, very good still at VVV. And Devil Tifa struggles quite a bit and finally gets through I Love You, and that's why I have to kill you is cleared, but Devil Tifa has lost about 20 seconds here compared to KTH, so that was a lot on a single room.
Yeah, that is a pretty uncharacteristic sort of undoing that just happened there to Devil Tifa. We'll see. You know, it's not that Devil Tifa never makes mistakes. It's that they are so good at recovering from them. So we'll see how their play continues for not just this run, but also for game number 10 coming up afterwards, the Messenger. And perhaps if they qualify, again, seeing how they do further on in the finals. So for now, KTH very far ahead in the Gravitron. We were guessing 20 seconds, but we got the numbers straight up on the screen now, so we can see it's actually more like 43 seconds separating the two of them. A fantastic Gravitron. Dying at the very end is KTH, but thankfully not too costly.
Yeah, dying after the bottom string that disappears does not cost you any time at all. So Devil Tifa is going to try to dodge the squares as best as they can. The Gravitron is maybe the most famous part of VVV. It's even a standalone game, just dodging those squares, going back and forth. You have no control of your flips. As soon as you touch a white line, you will go back in the other direction. Very expert maneuvers by Devil Tifa, going through those 40 through 10 seconds here without dying. This is very, very good, and Devil Tifa is making it look almost easy. Each time I see someone go through the Gravitron, I want to pick it back up and be like, yeah, that's easy. Okay, one final quick death, exactly the same as KTH here, and they're moving on. Meanwhile, KTH is already halfway through the lab. The lab is the shortest world of the bunch, and is one of the most satisfying one to go through fast. If you know exactly the cycles and the flips, you have a lot of nice setups, and you can just, you know, go very, very quickly through all those rooms. Keep an eye on KTH screen here. They're going to initiate some nice flips here with actually a cool setup, allowing them to go through those rooms without even stopping. This is actually amazing.
This has been a really good VVV for KTH. Just basically the one mistake, the one death on the lies that sent them back quite a ways. After that, they've been off and running, incredibly smooth finish to the lab, doing some unintended stuff, flipping and then kind of staying inside the line that flipped you will let you do some kind of unintended things, go up to the ceiling where the line is connected and then just flip off of that, stuff like that. So a couple different ways you can approach that. You could also just leave the line, re-enter it, and flip again. We'll see what Devil Tifa opts to do, but we gotta wait a little bit because KTH is just that far ahead of the Devil Tifa going through some of those cutscenes.
I love those rooms in the lab here. This is so sad. Except if you stop just a little bit too much. But those taps here, you have to stop for, I don't know, a frame, 2 frames. The game runs at 30 FPS, and sometimes it's exactly what the games want you to stop for. It's pretty weird. KTH is in the final escape here, so every gimmick of the game is now put down to a final brawl here. You have a lot of stuff to understand, and a lot of different rooms. It's going smoothly for KTH so far, knowing exactly the setups and moving on through nice rooms. Do remember here to flip immediately. This is one of the places that still when I'm running, it's way easier when you're providing commentary. You know exactly what's going to happen next. You can focus on the actual room and not the execution. And time slip. Oh my god, those those conveyor belts are so strong.
Yeah, it's one of the most frustrating deaths in the entire run is dying on that conveyor belt. And there's something about struggling so hard on the conveyor belt and then not quite making it, and like you just release and repress forwards, and you feel like you're doing it for the same amount of time each time, but you're seeing your position vary on the screen just because it is so hard to be precise down to the frame the way that you need to be. Thankfully, KTH was able to get through there. I think it's been pretty much deathless through this whole final section here on the final challenge. This is, believe it or not, the final challenge. Not quite, actually. There is still this screen and this screen left to go. I guess it's still sort of technically part of the same screen here. And then this section, which I think only one person died at. It's not going to get KTH this time. A very, very strong finish for KTH, showing 16:25 real time, and Devil Tifa getting caught in the time slip. We'll see they are able to recover.
Oh, barely not seeing the in-game time for KTH. I'm wondering how close that is to a 15-minute time. 15 minutes is so difficult to obtain. It's insanely impressive. And KTH was very close to that. Devil Tifa is almost done with the game, and Stifler and Taker are almost tied here, so they will go towards the lab, and it's pretty difficult to say what their time is looking like, obviously because of the delay, but those two being so close together actually bodes very, very well, because if one did great, the other probably did as well, and I cannot see those two, do poorly, considering how much time and effort they put into learning the game and their performances during the finals. So the lab is going to go pretty quickly. Taker is not showing any sign of hesitation or slowing down. Neither does Stifler, obviously. You'll see those runners actually skipping some checkpoints, and it always gets me, but it's totally measured. They know exactly what they're doing.
Taker and Stifler are indeed, they did indeed start later due to some controller issues, but it's not going to impact their time at all. They just started a new run. We'll be looking at their in-game time for this run. So we're basically just left in suspense as to what exactly the times were from Devil Tifa and KTH, and is how well they're going to compare to these times, because we didn't see some of the early stuff that they did. But I think you're right. The fact that they're both very close to each other means that either they both did good or they both did bad, and I think the odds are in the favor of both doing good. So we'll be seen, of course, once we get to that leaderboard screen when it's all said and done. Final section now for Taker. Stifler very close behind. This is what, 10-second gap between the two, I suppose. Still quite close.
Yep, that's about it. I'll keep an eye on the timer to get an exact estimation, but yep, 10, 11, 12, 13 seconds between the two. So that's a nice lead, considering the pace at which the game goes. First, Taker has to go through those rooms. They're not the hardest, but they're very reminiscent of the warp zone and the labs, and some of the hardest ones as well. So yeah, sometimes you'll get clipped by those spikes, and you have to have a very tight setup for the waterfront here, because it is a very tough room to pass without any hint or any cue. Mohawk did provide a very detailed tutorial for the game. It's a 11 hours tutorial for 15 minutes speedrun, so he went in depth, but it's how those runners actually did learn and go through all those pixels you have to look for if you want to get those exact movements.
Taker now into the time slip. Stifler a little bit behind here, has yet to find the terminal in the middle that begins to... Oh, Taker dying at the very end of time slip. Stifler's coming if this happens again. Looks like Taker is going to be able to move on. We saw a lot of deaths actually in Three's company, of all places. I don't know if it's just like I feel like players don't really have a route in that room. They just kind of like hit the button and it just works for them. And then sometimes it doesn't work for them and they don't know how to fix it or something. But it has been trouble for some very good players.
Yeah. So yeah, commentary is live. Hey guys, we are actually reading the chat. It's just the bot, but we wanted to provide live commentary at least for those finals. The panic room is aptly named. You have to aim for that tiny square here, Stifler. It's those players have struggled to the game. Yeah, like the speedrunning requires you to provide, you know, a lot of effort and learning, but at some points it feels like it became second nature to go through those rooms, and you are just left to compare to your difficulties through all those challenges, and it's insane to see those players clear all those rooms without any fear, chaining those together so fast and reaching the outer space in, I'd say, about 16 minutes. 16:54 actually, maybe a little bit behind what they were hoping for. KTH gets the sub 16 indeed.
Wow, jumping up quite a bit here. They're going to need a lot more, I think, if they want to have a shot. But it does start with a really good VVV. Let's see if they can continue it into the next game. The other scores from the other two players all actually very close. So no one got that you know, super sweet 16 sub 16 or sorry, closer more like the 15-30 range. But those three players, I think probably one of them I would have expected to get underneath 16 minutes, and not quite able to make it happen. So the door open for KTH. Moving on to the final game. It is the longest of the bunch. It is definitely the one with the most stuff to learn, and it is the Messenger.
The Messenger is fantastic platformer from 2018. It's been speedrun quite a lot. It's been featured multiple times on Speed Gaming. It has lots of different runners, lots of categories. We're going to go for the 8-bit no out of bound category, and this is a very, very dense speedrun. It is clearly inspired by Ninja Gaiden and all the 8-bits action platformer where you can move and hit without stopping, which is pretty cool. If you've played Castlevania before, you know that it's very important. A very important thing to point out. So Stifler, Taker, Devil Tifa, and KTH getting ready to go through that game that starts with a nice and chill 2-minute intro, actually.
We get to see a little bit about the story. If you can read it at an entire sentence per frame, then maybe you can learn about the story of this game. But you'll just have to take our word for it that you are a ninja in a ninja village who has been trained to deliver a message. As if you were a messenger, perhaps. And the time comes to do it pretty shortly here. You go through a bit of a training exercise where they introduce the very, very cool cloud step mechanic. Slashing something will give you another jump that you can use in the air. You can use that jump to get to something new to slash, to get a new jump, to jump to something else and chain them all together. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, demons attack the village. Things go south. We're powerless to stop them, but a mysterious stranger shows up to help us out a little bit. I feel like this is Zero coming in to bail out Mega Man X at the start of Mega Man X. Like, yeah, it's that thing.
Yeah, for sure. There's a vibe. The 18-bit and 8-bit era nostalgia feeling is clearly there. All the story starts super serious. It feels like a Ninja Gaiden or Mega Man X story, right? And very, very fast. The humor and obviously the light mood takes precedent, and suddenly it's all about more like the minute story than actually Mega Man X. And but yeah, if you've never played The Messenger and you don't know what we're talking about, you know, you still have lots to read through and nice story to go through, lots of jokes and silly stuff, but when you're speedrunning, it's all about those tight movements and execution, those cloud steps, those jumps above the enemies, those tight corners, and you never want to stop. You want to keep on pressing that left or right input. You want to slash accurately, and if you're like Taker, you want as well do those frame perfect turn back to get the extra boost you get from hitting an enemy. So it's very, very intense actually to speedrun the Messenger, and you always can save frames. There's always something left to optimize.
One of the things that will kind of get a newer player, I think, is you go at full speed when you're running, and then you jump into the air. But if you start like going left and right and cloud stepping and stuff in the air, you're actually not going at full speed anymore. So you need to be pretty careful about managing your horizontal speed while you're doing your really fun verticals back and forth. We got a damage boost here. You want to get that forward boost. Looks like everyone got it. Nice job. You're basically just trying to land on the particular part of the spikes to go forwards rather than backwards. At some point, players just kind of worked that into their routes, and I think we'll probably see it from the other 4 players also competing in top 8. Players are really starting to push this game. This is it's a game that rather than Trackmania, where you put in a huge amount of time just to go a couple seconds faster, I feel like in the Messenger, you're always going to go like kind of a lot faster the more time you put in. It takes a long time to brush up against kind of the skill cap in this game, and so that translates to a lot of points. So it's a game that a lot of players have put a lot of focus on.
Yeah, it's plus those longer games. We've had Metroid Zero Mission, Shovel Knight, Mega Man X. Those long platformers are pretty easy to, get hooked into and sink a lot of time learning and realizing you have a lot to optimize. At first, it's pretty long to get a deathless run and a satisfying run, so you will naturally sink into a lot of time, and then once you got there, you realize that there's still so much to learn. That those are fairly successful on every season, and the Messenger is no different. Plus, being a recent title, a lot of people got their eye on it anyway, so a lot of players wanted to play it, and the music makes it so easy to get into. The Messenger has a lot of stuff for it. It's very, very satisfying to play through, and it's not too hard, to be honest. So it's all about getting satisfying gameplay up until you are at the 35-minute mark, 34 maybe, and then you have to grind on some crazy strats and relearn pretty much everything and multiple times until you are at the skill level displayed right now.
Yeah, it's been a long road for these players. Everyone still very close together. Very cool to see everyone making this final ascent in the Autumn Hills here, basically together. Devil Tifa a little bit ahead, Steffler a little bit behind, but Devil Tifa actually taking some damage there, so dropping back a little bit with the players. 3 players all going into the shop all at once, followed by Steffler. Just a couple seconds separating first from fourth. This kind of tends to be the case in this game across the first world. It is the most simple, so the better players have less opportunity to pull ahead. We have seen in other races of this game throughout the season that you will see players start to spread apart later on. But then again, here at Ultimate Finals, everyone is very, very, very good. So I really hope we get to see everyone stay this close throughout the entire race.
So far, so good. At least nobody got stuck on that first boss. We've already got the first cycle. Stifler is just about, 5 seconds behind, nothing major. And you certainly want to see the players stay close together, because one of the biggest ways to lose time is dying. And dying in the catacombs, especially the upcoming world here, is super, super costly. The checkpoints are fairly far between each other, and dying gets you the quabble apparition, and it's overall it feels pretty bad. So it's one of the times here where you want to focus quite a bit. Those cycles on the moving blocks will eventually crush you and kill you in one hit. So KTH playing safe here, losing just a little bit of time. Taker and Double Tifa exactly synced up.
Yeah, basically down to the frame as these enemies spawn in with their little explosions. Devil Tifa is now 10 frames ahead. Wow, crazy. And impossible for Taker to overcome this gap. Steffler and KTH also extremely close, not quite 10 frames, maybe more like 40. Oh, Steffler losing their footing on the wall, actually going to have to wait for a couple cycles as KTH taking this opportunity to get a jump on them. Double Tifa and Taker still very close. The Catacombs has some pretty tricky stuff in it, but like you said, it's just punishing. There's a lot of things that can outright kill you, or deal a lot of damage. Spikes will deal 3 damage. In this game, Double Tifa is down to 2 health, so cannot get hit by any spikes, and you can see there's a lot of them.
Yep. For the longest time, a lot of people actually thought that the spikes were one-hit KO because you spend a lot of time with less than 3 health in the Messenger. The checkpoints do not refill your entire health; they actually just get you up to 3 health. So it's something to consider. The jump here. Fairly well passed by Taker and Double Tifa. I'm completely hypnotized by the sync at which the players are playing since pretty much the beginning of the Decathlon. Actually, like they stayed together quite nicely throughout those 10 games, and at that point they've played through. This is their 10th game, and usually you get tired at that point. It's not easy at all to play on that level for 4 hours in a row, so I'm still impressed by what we're seeing.
Yeah, I'm getting tired just talking about it, let alone actually having to be the one with my hands on the controller. So, fantastic job from all the players. It can feel a little silly to talk about stamina, when you're just holding the controller and sitting in the chair. Normally, you think of some kind of sport that is generally a lot more active, but really. Mental stamina, as well as like finger dexterity can also be a thing. But I think mostly it's keeping your focus for so long that is definitely a factor to be considered. And the players at this point are quite used to doing these full decathlon runs, so they are pretty good. But it's never easy to play for so long at such a high level. Very tricky room for both Taker and Devil Tifa, both getting through that early cycle. You need to commit early.
And Steffler is going to wait. This press is super slow, but when it's coming down on you, it's not stopping. So you want to know exactly your timing, and if you waste just the slightest amount of time, you have to wait and just lose a little bit of time. Devil Tifa is having the bad RNG here, so knows exactly how to react. The boss Ruxtin here has 2 set patterns, and if you are unlucky like Devil Tifa is right now, you are just going to lose about 8 to 10 seconds. I don't remember the amount exactly, but Taker takes the lead now just because of that.
KTH getting the good pattern up top. Steffler was unable to get a ride on these fireballs here. Is not going to try to get the ride on the way up because he knows the next phase is about to start here, knocking the boss off. But this is a pretty big time loss here for Steffler. We'll see if they're able to finish off this phase very quickly. They're out of shurikens too, so they're unable to manipulate the boss's behavior, teleporting from side to side. I think, no, not quite enough. Has to track him down all the way on the far side here for 1 hit, all the way to the other for another hit. This is like 30 seconds lost.
Oop. Or, oh my god, Steffler getting me scared now. Meanwhile, Devil Tifa, Taker, very, very close still together, but Taker is taking the lead by just a little. Taker has worked a lot on the game, and it's showing. It's like in Iraq, feels sometimes that nobody can go faster than them, and yet a lot of players actually can go for sub 32 times on the game, so still amazing to see how far down you can push those times. But Taker is going through the Bamboo Creek pretty quickly, not stopping for anything, and next up are some pretty important skips. We'll see what Taker does on that room. You can chain those blue projectiles with cloud steps to save a lot of time. The Taker decides to go the long way around and does that pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's exactly how Taker wanted that room to go. It's not the absolute fastest strat, but that strat is very unreliable. So with the route Taker had in mind, executed on it exactly how they wanted to. Very cool. KTH is now going for this skip as well, curling around the corner with the cloud step. Gets it, I think, on second try there. Devil Tifa has already. I get these rooms mixed up in the Bamboo Creek. These really big ones. I can't remember. I think he's passed it already. And Steffler, of course, bringing up the rear still. It's a pretty big time loss to come back from for Steffler. Certainly, they got a big lead on KTH in points, but it's going to be hard to pass. To keep Devil Tifa away, to catch Taker, and there are 4 more players who are going to be playing tomorrow. Who we will watch play tomorrow, who Steffler is also competing against. So really needs to try to salvage as many points as they can here.
Yeah, so all 8 players are considered in the same leaderboard, and we're going to qualify top 4. Technically, we could see KTH, Devil Tifa, Steffler, and Taker actually qualify for the finals on Sunday, but to be honest, that's pretty unlikely. The runners, as you've seen on screen, are all very close skill level wise, and at that point you probably would feel okay if you're first or second. If you're third or fourth, that's not so hot for you. So all the 8 players got into the Ultimate Finals, at least hoping to play on the Sunday. Winning, not so much. The results were very up in the air from the beginning, but at least playing on Sunday was a cool goal for everybody. So Taker feeling confidence first so far, and first in the Messenger, but for Devil Tifa, KTH, and Steffler, it feels like everything has still to be done.
Taker is going to wait for this Saw Blade to pass here. After damage boosting off of 1, another would kill them, so they're going to be playing very careful here. Devil Tifa still has health to take a hit there, as KTH is also very close to these players. It's not so easy to keep pace with either of these players, particularly Taker, who has a fantastic 31 minute 30 second PB in the Messenger, first on the leaderboard, qualified with the best time among the 8 in Grand Finals, so is this is all just to say that Taker is very good at the Messenger, and so the fact that KTH is just like a room behind this late into the run, they gotta feel pretty good about that, I think.
The Grotto is all about tight corners and difficult jumps. To be honest, you always end up getting stuck on the ledge. You claw on a wall. You just stop. Your movement is a little chunky, and it's very hard to go smoothly through the stage. Even though it's probably one that kills the least amount of runners, you still end up losing a lot of time. So it's fairly difficult to optimize. Taker is almost done. Devil Tifa as well, staying close together very nicely since the beginning. But the boss is starting, and that boss has destroyed some hopes and dreams. First, you want to get some nice 2 cycles. Each cycle is triggered by getting exactly 8 hits on the center core. So you have to get your counter pretty synced up with your hits, and it's going well for Taker here. Double Tifa as well. As soon as you trigger the hate hit on the central core, you want to be on the side, getting that with the shuriken, so you immediately rise up to the head and actually get the hits that counts. Oh, Devil Tifa got pushed back on the wrong side, and oh no, it's not going to make it there. They're going to lose so much time due to that.
A whole extra cycle here for Double Tifa. KTH, meanwhile, is set up for their second cycle here, just the way they needed to. Taker finishing off the boss with 1 health on the second phase. Nicely done. Devil Tifa moving on to the final phase, just as KTH is as well. So very close now between those two. Steffler just now about to start the fight. 1 HP for Devil Tifa. Gets the final hit. KTH just behind.
That second phase, the orb floating around with only 1 HP is super scary because the movement is a little bit erratic, and you have to come close to the orb to hit it. So it's a little bit tense, but Taker is nicely in the lead now into the Cultural Marsh. So it's a long, nice set of rooms, very horizontal. You can glide through them, as gliding and running are exactly at the same go exactly at the same speed. And Taker is going to show some of the turn back boosts we were talking about, and yeah, it does that quite a bit in those rooms. They're nicely set up for those, and this is very, very hard to do, and we were debating earlier, Mythical, on whether that was actually worth doing or why nobody else was actually doing it.
Yeah, very reminiscent of the backdashes in Aria of Sorrow from Season 6. There was the kind of thing that you needed to successfully execute 30-ish times in order to make up for, messing up just once. So your consistency had to be incredible with it in order to really make use of it in a run. And honestly, I feel like Taker's there. He's hit pretty much all of them. I haven't seen him, lose any obvious time doing it. I think he's probably come out net positive so far with up to this point in the run. We'll see if he can keep it up for the remainder. But it is in itself an incredibly small reason why Taker is in the lead right now. It is the solid fundamentals and all the other stuff that Taker has done to get to this point. But it's kind of emblematic of the amount of effort that Taker has put into this game. With 9 other games to play, a lot of players have to choose where they put their time in. And Taker has said that this is a game he put maybe too much time into.
Yeah, it's very, very hard to put some time into any game in UD and then actually justify it. Sometimes you will spend a lot of time learning a strat, but in the end, it's not even worth. What doesn't matter the effort you put, and the time you spent learning a single strat. Sometimes it's just still too risky, and that's why on multiple games, especially like out there somewhere, we've seen a lot of runners actually opt out of some strats even though they know how to do it. It's just not worth it. It's like the Turbosphere in Iraq and lots of actual skips in the Messenger, but the Messenger has shown very, very good consistency for a lot of runners. So apparently the time you spent learning some strats is still worth it at some point.
Taker now going for the boss skip, does get the shuriken hit to knock the boss down with the stun. I think they're probably going to try to do it again. Even though they probably have enough damage to skip this phase, you can still get up there and land that shuriken hit to knock them down. Get the stun, get a bit more damage in here. Moving on, I think has kind of already done enough damage to end the fight. Is just kind of waiting for these attacks to happen and maybe miscalculated, or do you have to watch that? I can't remember, but
yep, you have to watch the boss rise up and go down. Taker was actually going for the whip attack skip which is crazy precise. You have to deal a lot of damage before the boss reaches out that phase, and Taker quite missed that just a little bit, so sadly lost a little bit more time because did not have the shuriken for the final hit. Devil Tifa did not either. KTH though has the shuriken, so killed the boss exactly when they land with a shuriken, and is immediately next to the door, so that's pretty neat.
Very close between KTH and Devil Tifa. Though that cutscene does take a little bit longer to play out than I thought, but still, like within 10 seconds for those two. Both of them trailing Taker by another 20, maybe 30 seconds. Taker has earned a pretty big lead for themselves through the Howling Grotto, but missing the jump here on the first screen of the Howling Crags, leaving the screen to reset the platform. Was a little bit faster than waiting for the rest of that cycle to play out, but him and a lot of the other players now have the rope dart, which is a fantastic grappling hook-esque thing that will latch out straight across with a surprisingly limited range sometimes. But whatever you latch onto, you will pull yourself towards it very quickly. So it is almost always faster to use it to latch onto something. So wherever there is something to latch onto, the players are now going to do that. And it's going to basically... it changes the entire dynamic of the speedrun once you get this thing.
Yeah, you want to use it as much as you can on anything available. If there's like just a wall anywhere on the screen, you want to use it. Any torches, you're going to hook on it. You're going to gain your Devil Tifa getting some weird movement here. You gain your cloud step of it as well if you hook on an enemy or a projectile or anything. So it's fairly useful. It's super relevant anywhere in the level, and overall it's just how you want to move. You want to be using that. It's just so fast. So the game changes every time you finish a wall because all the time you have some new upgrades, but this one is probably the most meaningful out of the bunch. It arrives fairly late into the run, but we still have the crags, the glacial peak, and the Tower of Time to go through, so investing some time to learn exactly how to use it and remembering to use it as much as you can is certainly worth doing.
Take her into the boss fight of the Syrian Crags here, Kolos and Zeus's, or the Colossuses. If you put them together, green guy can only be hit from the front, red guy can only be hit from behind. Taker is not just mashing the rope dart and the attack. He's actually taking great care to attack and then rope dart to kind of get these two hits in back to back really quick. It is a smart optimization that is going to save a lot of time in this fight. It's been a pretty good fight so far for Taker. It can be a little hard to tell because there's no health meter or anything, and they require just so many hits, but that seemed like a pretty good fight to me.
Alright, so big shout out to the French commentators of UD7, and for some weird reason they obsessed quite heavily on the green Colossus attack, where he actually whips out the messenger with their
the loincloth?
Robes, yeah, the loincloth, and revealing their sweet heart tattoo. And so the crowd was cheering like crazy to see that attack, and so far we did not see it, so everybody was pretty disappointed. But that was super weird because we totally missed out on the hype train of the heart tattoo during the entire season. And when I told that to the said that to the French commentator, they were quite surprised. We were not on the same hype train, you know. It was
we weren't thinking about the boss's butt cheeks. We were thinking about something else. They couldn't believe that anyone could possibly turn their eyes away.
Pretty much. So Glacial Peak starting for Taker, nice lead, and Stifler. Everybody was hoping here to see the magical attack. And yeah, something crazy. You know, sometimes you hope for something so much, maybe it's going to happen, maybe not. I mean, and that's why everybody is so focusing on the fight, while Taker, KTH, and Devil Tifa are just making fantastic progress through the Glacial Peak.
All right, boss fight down for Steffler. You're going to have to wait for another day if you want to see what the heck Join is talking about, because we did not get to see that attack from any of the 4 players. Quite unlucky, I suppose, but the players will be pretty happy to rather have good luck in, maybe getting a good pattern on Ruxton or something like that. Their minds are elsewhere for sure. Focused mostly on climbing the glacial peak here. Very, very vertical stage. You'd think that your horizontal traversing grappling hook would not get so much use on a very vertical section, but you'd be surprised. It is just so good that you will find many places to use it, even on vertical climbs. And of course, there are a couple horizontal sections here. Devil Tifa roping all the way across, a couple there. Taker is going to be the first one to complete the ascent and move on to the final section of this category, the Tower of Time.
And KTH just took the first death of the bench. Nobody died so far, and the Glacial Peak claimed the first life, so sadly KTH fell back behind everybody else. Taker still strongly in the lead, Double Defense second place. Stifler trying to do their best to catch up with Double Defense, but it's still fairly close between the runners. The Glacial Peak is short one, but Taker, firmly in the lead, starting the Tower of Time, which is a very special world. It's the most difficult one, maybe out of the entire game. It's very intense. Those lasers deal 4 health worth of damage in one hit, so you die pretty much from anything instantly. And those mages claimed a lot of lives. That's why Taker is, making sure they're going to kill them. Still takes a hit there, sadly. And overall, it's not easy at all to go through those rooms without losing time or HP. And overall, since it's such a long world, a lot of players are a little bit worried about what can happen here.
Kind of surprised Taker was able to get all the way down and kill that mage and then still make the platform cycle. A lot of things moving on cycles in the Tower of Time, which is a blessing and a curse. It means that you kind of know exactly how fast you need to go, how much extra time you have to do one thing or another. But if you miss a cycle, then you know that you've probably lost a pretty big chunk of time. Even if it was a relatively small mistake that caused you to miss it. Health also a concern here in the tower. Taker already down to 3 health, so
what is that mage
not going to have
here,
what they need. What? I didn't even... Yeah, you're right. He's not supposed to be there. What happened?
I have no clue. Oh wow, super risky strat. Taker is really going for it all. Only 3 HP left. That means anything will kill them. Spikes, laser, and still not slowing down. Here, if you have over 5 HP, you can go for a very crazy damage boost through those lasers, but Taker is not going for that. Obviously, all that would kill them. So Stifler is in 4th place, going to go into the Tower of Time, very close to KTH. Devil Tifa is somewhere in between KTH and Taker is not slowing down for anything at that point, filling up all the HP on that drop here and moving onwards. We are halfway through the Tower of Time, still a lot to go through.
It really is a very long, grueling section here in the tower, and it's not so like free and open and flowing as a lot of the previous areas were. Flying over the top of the Quillshroom Marsh and chaining the rope dart together through the Searing Crags and the Glacial Peaks, and then you get a totally different feel for the Tower of Time. Everything's very enclosed. You're waiting for platforms. You can't just do what you want anymore, and so it gives it a different tone. It can be a little tense. Devil Tifa going through the lasers with the damage boost and also skipping the checkpoint, so has no fear here, is maybe aware that they are playing from behind a little bit and need to maybe step up if they want to try to make it to Sunday. Not sure, but they're definitely going for it here. They have got the health refill, so they're able to breathe at least a little bit safer. Taker there with the trick to hit the crystal from the other side of the wall to save just kind of one room's worth of traversal. Does come with the risk of hitting a crystal accidentally going backwards, but Taker's so comfortable with those turnaround slash inputs is absolutely totally fine going for that trick, and I think probably we'll see it from a lot of the other runners as well.
Alright, final boss of the category, the Arcane Golem, is... I'm not sure yet on what the difficulty, how hard it is considered by the runners, but certainly staying up there with a consistent hook and sword slashes is not so easy. You want to get the correct rhythm, so you have the iframes forever, but sometimes, yeah, you'll get hit, so the health is fairly important, and you want to win the DPS race pretty much. So far, so good by Taker. Each time the boss is clapping, it pushes you away from the head, and okay, nice, no problem. Taker gets a fantastic time at around 32 minutes and 50 seconds maybe.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the in-game time once it pops up, but a phenomenal time, certainly the best of the 4 players here today. Devil Tifa also about to finish their run. This boss, I you know, if players say it's easy, then I disagree with them. It's just, I don't really understand how to always get back onto the boss once the orbs are rotating around his neck. I feel like it's just a total crapshoot whether or not you get hit by those orbs or not, but certainly the consistency that players are able to reach is far beyond just pure chance, so there's something that other people understand about this fight that I don't. But I definitely respect everyone's ability to consistently beat this boss without touching the floor. We saw Taker do it. Devil Tifa well on their way as well. The boss is flashing quite heavily now, so only a couple more hits left. Is this going to be enough? Yes, it is. 33-20, finishing about a minute behind Taker, I think. KTH now already has the boss on screen. It's going to be finishing, if all goes well, about 30 seconds behind Devil Tifa.
Yeah. We'll see if they can stay up there. I agree with you. Staying there with the sword slashes and the grappling hook giving you iframes. I think I understand the theory of you having to hook at the top of the hitbox of the head, so you don't quite collide with the pink orbs before your iframes trigger. But it's I don't know. It's very, very difficult to be consistent at it. Stifler is going to start the Arcane Golem just now, 2 minutes after Taker is actually done. So Stifler did not slow down during the entire run. Maybe they died once, but I'm not even sure. So that just shows how fast Taker is through the game. Stifler almost falling down, but getting back up nicely here, and yeah, feels like everybody knows exactly what they're doing here.
It'll be very curious to see what the leaderboard ends up looking like after this. We saw Steffler was in the lead across the first 5 games, eventually got overtaken by Taker. They are going to finish in second, held off Devil Tifa by 7 points. Some phenomenal scores from everyone, of course, but particularly Taker getting well over 2,100 points, finishing at a very nice number, 21-25. Steffler just 2 points shy of cracking the 2,100 mark. Devil Tifa very close behind at a 2091, and KTH trailing by 27-ish points, finishing with a 2,066 point run, over 2,000 points. A great run. I don't know if it's going to be enough to move on to the next round.
Those scores are insane. So 4 PBs, my bad, overall, 2 by KTH. Stifler got an insane record of race PBs and a PB on Trackmania 2. Taker has just proven how good they were. They can go with the 21-25 Decathlon and just a Mega Man 2, Mega Man 1 through 6 race PB, but that's it. Everything else is felt pretty much normal for them. This is an incredible time and score overall. Stifler, feels great, to be honest, compared to how stressed they were and entering the decathlon and finishing at almost 2100. So that's way higher than their best decathlon they ever got. So they can feel confident to qualify on Sunday. Devil Tifa, though, it's another story. They got a very, very bad lawnmower. Not such a great Neo Turf Master. Very good Kirby, but lost about 40 seconds on VVVVV on a single room. And yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's enough.
There are 4 more players, so if 2 of them are able to beat this 2,091 point mark, it will knock both Devil Tifa and KTH out of the running for the final round. A good question in chat, though, about the colors. The text, the blue text is a race PB, the gold text is a new PB, but you've probably noticed the boxes are also, there's a couple ones that aren't black, and that's because you basically, the closer you get to the 200 point mark, the color of the, this bright pink for Kirby gets a little darker and a little darker, and then at 200 points it goes black. And so it looks like they're all supposed to be black and 2 of them are weird, but actually it's just because everyone almost always got over 200 points on every single game that the leaderboard ends up being mostly black, just with that one lawnmower and that one Kirby from Devil Tifa and KTH. So this incredibly dark leaderboard is, I guess it's lit up a little bit by these PBs, but the black colors is just testament to the overall skill level that the players were able to reach. We truly are looking at the best of the best, regardless of what the results end up being. Fantastic play by all 4 players.
So that's it for today. And to be honest, it feels a little bit weird. Devil Tifa has proven to be so far such a fantastic runner, and seeing them in the 3rd place, and it's totally unclear if actually Stifler or Devil Tifa are going to qualify. Stifler with almost 2100 feels great, but tomorrow we have Leremy, Lilia, Jant, and Ghostess, and all 4 of them are able to put over 2100 points in a decathlon. So it's happening live. It's not the same setup as usual. Some of those runners we've seen today were used to playing live, and tomorrow maybe just a little bit less, but Jant has played through multiple Ultimate Finals already. They know exactly what they're doing, so I don't know, but that's going to be happening tomorrow at 6 p.m, so it's going to be pretty fun to see exactly how that checks out.
That's right, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. For the other half of the semifinals, the other 4 racers will have their shot to finish the decathlon. Compare the times of all 8 runners. The top 4 will move on to play on Sunday. I can't wait. I would have picked, if I had to pick my top 4 ahead of time, Taker certainly, Devil Tifa and Steffler I think would have been in my top 4. So they're very close together. I feel like either both will make it or none will make it. I think probably that they're close enough together that I doubt someone's gonna get in between the 2 of them. But you're right. It is totally possible. All 4 of the other runners are capable of putting up the time and the score required to get in there. So that's what I have to look forward to. You already know, you sneaky guy. You've visited the past.
I'm traveling through time. Yeah, I'm the messenger at that point.
But me, I can't wait. That's going to be happening, like you said, 6 p.m. tomorrow here on Speed Gaming. But you shouldn't go anywhere. I think the channel is going to go down, and in about 12 minutes, something cool is going to happen. We're going to have a Zelda 1 randomizer match happening here on twitch.tv/speedgaming, and it's probably going to get the front page on Twitch. So we're going to get a whole bunch of viewers. Everyone's going to get in here. It's going to be hype. It's going to be fun. So everyone who came out to watch day 1 of Ultime Decathlon, thank you so much for watching. But definitely please stick around. Even after the channel goes down, it will come back for some pretty cool Zelda 1 randomizer action.
See you tomorrow, everybody.